Chapter 1213 Twilight Years. Chapter 1213 Twilight Years. In the inheritance ground, stone statue cemetery. The heart of the green lotus true body stirred. As though he sensed something, he woke up from his cultivation comprehension and received the information from the dragon true body. Both true bodies were Su Zimo and their minds were connected. There was no difference. The green lotus true body smiled gently when it sensed the joy of the dragon true body. The dragon true body cultivated smoothly and obtained an opportunity to become the young master of the dragon race and reign over the 5 lineages. It was a firm foothold, and the green lotus true body no longer had to worry about his counterpart. The green lotus true body was in no hurry to enter the Dharma characteristic realm. Or rather, the reason why he came to the Dao inheritance ground was not because he wanted his cultivation to advance, but because he wanted to deduce the martial Dao. In truth, from the moment he arrived at the Dao inheritance ground, the green lotus true body had already prepared for the worst. That was the failure of the deduction. To create a grand Dao unlike the immortal, Buddhist and fiend Dao such that mortals without spirit roots could cultivate, how difficult was that? Throughout history, countless wise sages and experts exhausted their entire lives to no avail. That was the case for the mighty figure of Tomb's sect in the ancient battlefield as well. However, Su Zimo was only a Dharma characteristic Dao Lord. He knew very well that this was a path of no return. Since he was already on it, he could only continue until the end of his life. However, he did not regret it. In fact, Su Zimo was mentally prepared for the fact that his deduction would fail and his green lotus true body would pass away at the end of its lifespan. That was the worst possible as well as the most likely outcome. Su Zimo severed his connection with his dragon true body and immersed himself in the cultivation technique of half-martial ancestor instant, comprehending and verifying it repeatedly. Even though he cultivated the cultivation techniques of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects, he had no clue how to deduce the martial Dao immediately. What he wanted to do was to comprehend all the 30-odd inheritances in the cemetery and memorize them. He wanted to fuse the essence of the cultivation techniques of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects and find a possible path. He wanted to find a possible path to alter fate. Cultivation was endless. It was the same day after day. It had only been 3 years on Tianhuang mainland, slightly more than 1,000 days. However, Su Zimo had already spent more than 1,000 years in the cemetery beneath the stone statue of half-martial ancestor instant due to the flow of time there. Prior to this, Su Zimo was only more than 100 years old. For void reversions 100 years old was equivalent to a youth. But now, after more than 1,000 years, Su Zimo had already become a young man at the void reversion realm. He had never cultivated for such a long time. However, the 1,000 years were not wasted after all. In the stone statue cemetery, he had already comprehended more than 30 ancient inheritances of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects, including the immense Heaven Sea Burial Secret Manual, Apocalyptic Heavenly Fiend Manual, Great Might Heavenly Dragon Bodhisattva Sutra, and so on. The Dao inheritance ground was a world of its own. It was impossible for his cultivation to advance here. Although Su Zimo's cultivation had not improved after more than 1,000 years, his combat strength had already reached an extremely terrifying level after comprehending more than 30 inheritances. The 30-odd stone statues had been passed down from the ancient era. Nobody had entered this place before. Anyone who could obtain any of those inheritances would be able to dominate the world. However, Su Zimo managed to comprehend all the inheritances here. He was the first in history. Under normal circumstances, after obtaining an inheritance, the other stone statues would no longer view this person as their successor. The reason why more than 30 stone statues chose Su Zimo was not only because he crossed the 3 tribulations domain. More than that, it was because he had established his Dao heart here 10 years ago to impart martial arts to all living beings. Among the 30-odd stone statues, there were still remnant consciousnesses of ancient mighty figures. Those remnant consciousnesses wanted to do everything they could to help Su Zimo. After leaving behind the inheritances, the remnant consciousnesses did not disperse. They wanted to see the final outcome as well. However, time was merciless. Even true life could not withstand the passage of time, let alone remnant consciousnesses. After more than 1,000 years, there were only a few remnant consciousnesses that remained and accompanied Su Zimo. It was relatively simple to comprehend those inheritances. The true difficulty lies in the deduction later on. Su Zimo assumed a lotus position with his eyes closed. He recalled the cultivation of his life and tried his best to search for an opportunity. Time flew like an arrow. In the blink of an eye, another 1,000 years passed in the stone statue cemetery. Only slightly more than 6 years had passed in Tianhuang mainland. However, Su Zimo had spent more than 2,000 years here. After more than 2,000 years, Su Zimo was already equivalent to a middle-aged void reversion. His face had matured and there was a hint of age in his eyes. In the cemetery, even the few remnant consciousnesses that remained and accompanied him dissipated with indignance. In the end, they could not endure through it. Su Zimo's eyes were slightly red as he bowed deeply towards the 30-odd stone statues. Seniors, don't worry. Even if I have to exhaust my lifespan, I'll definitely deduce a martial Dao and change the fates of the masses. Nobody answered him. He was the only one left in the cemetery. It was as though he was going to be alone on that path for all eternity. Su Zimo took a deep breath and composed himself before continuing to deduce. He had gained quite a bit in the past 1,000 years and had found some clues. Actually, it was impossible to create a complete martial Dao. His cultivation realm was only at the void reversion realm. However, it was relatively easier if he merely wanted to allow mortals without spirit roots to cultivate. Su Zimo did not have a spirit root and started off with demonic cultivation. There was an extremely important realm for both immortality and demonic cultivation, core formation. It was similar to how the different Das were different means to the same end. Core formation was an insurmountable realm. After forming a core, one could form their own spirit through demonic cultivation. Immortal cultivators could create essence spirits that were similar. In other words, if he could create a cultivation technique and allow mortals without spirit roots to form their cores without taking on demon form, it would be equivalent to settling the most critical aspect of deducing the martial Dao. That was because one would cultivate an essence spirit after forming a core. The cultivation of an essence spirit would break free from the shackles of the spirit root, and one would be able to comprehend heaven and earth with their essence spirit. Su Zimo continued to deduce based on that line of thought. Time slowly passed. In the blink of an eye, another 1,000 years passed. Su Zimo stood motionlessly at the foot of the stone statue. His body was covered in dust and his original green robes could no longer be seen. It had only been 9 years in the outside world. However, Su Zimo was already more than 3,000 years old. Over the years, he had never rested and had been constantly deducing and comprehending. He failed countless times, but he never gave up. Time continued to pass. In the blink of an eye, another 1,000 years passed. Su Zimo was already more than 4,000 years old. The lifespan of a void reversion was only 5,000 years. At more than 4,000 years old, it meant that he was in his later years and his blood-chi was starting to deteriorate, entering a twilight state. At that moment, Su Zimo's hair had already turned grayish-white and rested on his shoulders. There were also some wrinkles on his face. The cruelty of time was unstoppable. Chapter 12:14 Half of the Martial Sutra. Chapter 12:14 Half of the Martial Sutra. Su Zimo opened his eyes with a hint of vicissitude. Repeated deduction day after day for 4,000 years. This was an immense torture for anyone. There was no one accompanying him on that path. It was dark and lonely without any light. He did not know where the end point was either. If it was anyone else, they would have broken down mentally, unable to endure it. However, Su Zimo's Dao heart that was established here was unshakable. He could only survive till now after passing the test of the 3 tribulations domain. Even so, his Dao heart wavered. After more than 4,000 years, there was still no conclusion to his deduction of the martial Dao. Su Zimo could sense that he was infinitesimally close to the final secret, but he was still a step away. That single step could be an insurmountable chasm. Of course, there was another possibility. The direction he chose to deduce was wrong from the beginning. Deducing a Tao from scratch was like a dot that could spread endlessly with boundless possibilities. If a mistake was made from the start, it could carry on and lead one further and further away from the end point. A gentle breeze blew and a few strands of gray hair brushed past his eyes. Su Zimo pursed his lips and his gaze dimmed. He did not have much lifespan left. He had 700 years at most. At that moment, if he were to leave the Dao inheritance ground and return to Tianhuang mainland, he had a chance of entering the Dharma characteristic realm in one go. However, if that was the case, all the comprehensions and inspiration he gained over the years would most likely dissipate, and he would have to start afresh. At that time, was he going to spend another 4,000 years? How many changes would happen in Tianhuang mainland after 4,000 years? He could not afford to wait. Neither could his old friends and kin. Furthermore, the difficulty he would face would only increase if he restarted his deduction. He had a feeling that if he were to leave this time round, he would never get the chance to deduce the martial Tao. Su Zimo glanced sideways at the 30-odd stone statues and said softly, "Seniors, don't worry. I'll stay here. Even if I fail, I won't let down your Tao hearts and hopes." He was already prepared to die with his green lotus true body. Su Zimo closed his eyes again and continued to deduce. Time was still flowing rapidly. Su Zimo's lifespan was decreasing. 600 years. 500 years. 400 years. The luster on his face was gone, and it was filled with wrinkles, making him look extremely old. Even if his body was the green lotus true body, his blood chi was already starting to deteriorate at the moment, and his hair and beard were white, emanating an aura of twilight within his body. Su Zimo did not get up still. Before long, he only had 200 years left. He was already 4,800 years old. All of a sudden, Su Zimo shuddered and suddenly opened his eyes. A bedazzling glint flashed through his initially cloudy eyes. Success. Many mysterious sutras reverberated in his mind, forming a Tao that became increasingly clear. At that moment, a mysterious power surrounded him. It was not spirit energy, Dharmic powers or divine powers. However, that power was still dissipating and had yet to materialize. Su Zimo was in no hurry to get up. He closed his eyes and continued to deduce. He was only at the initial mastery of the martial Tao and had many loopholes and flaws. He had to continue deducing and perfecting those loopholes. Time passed. Su Zimo's lifespan was almost up. Time was running out. Unknowingly, he only had 100 years left to his lifespan. To be fair, one was at the end of the road by the time their lifespan was less than 100 years. Under such circumstances, it was extremely dangerous for someone like him to spend so much effort to deduce the martial Tao. He could die at any moment. However, Su Zimo did not stop his deduction. Finally, when his lifespan was less than 50 years, he opened his eyes once more. Su Zimo stood up slowly and a sincere smile finally appeared on his old face. The mysterious power had already appeared beside him, forming gigantic golden words. There were a total of 81 of them and they surged with an unstoppable aura and will. That was the aura of the martial Tao. That was the will of the martial Tao. The martial Tao was about advancing courageously. It was about being true to one's heart, and the ability to execute gratitude and hatred at will. The martial Tao was unyielding, a resisting boldness of millions of people. The deduction of the martial Tao itself was a manifestation of the martial Tao. Su Zimo's expression was emotional as he looked at the many golden words around him and murmured softly, "Go on, let all living beings in the world see this." 81 gigantic golden words soared into the skies as though they were sentient. The Tao inheritance ground was a world of its own and was isolated from the outside world. However, at that moment, the space could not stop the 81 golden words and it shattered, causing the world to tremble. 81 golden words descended upon the firmaments of Tianhuang mainland. At that moment, it did not matter if one was mortal or a cultivator. It did not matter if one was from the immortal, Buddhist or fiend sections. It did not matter if one was a demon or from the primordial 9 races. All the living beings of Tianhuang mainland noticed the 81 golden words above their heads. The entire world was shaken. What is this? Could it be a commotion caused by some extraordinary Mahayana patriarch? It seems to be from the Dao inheritance ground. Tianhuang mainland was in an uproar. Many mortals did not know what was going on, and knelt down to pray in fear of impending trouble. I am Desolate Martial. After 5,000 years, I finally created half of the Martial Sutra. All living beings in the world are able to cultivate this and become immortals. Right then, an old voice sounded from midair. In the stone statue cemetery, Su Zimo merely whispered. However, his voice spread through the entire world with the augmentation of the 81 golden words. 100 Refinement Sect. Figures burst forth from the cave abode and descended in midair. Their leader was none other than mighty figure Extreme Fire of 100 Refinement Sect. This is... Mighty figure Extreme Fire had a shocked expression as he looked at the firmaments in disbelief and trembled. Could Zimo have successfully established his Tao? Ethereal Peak. The old immortal crane, Nianqi and many other cultivators of the sects appeared at the same time and looked up. Young Master has succeeded! Nianqi clenched her fists with a delighted expression. Great Zhou's palace. Ji Yaoxue and Xiaoning stood together emotionally. Pingyang Town. Tao Yao stood in the courtyard and tilted his head. Blinking his large eyes, he pondered and said, In that case, young master is about to return? Who is Desolate Martial? Many mortals of Pingyang Town asked curiously. I heard that Desolate Martial is second young Master Su of our town. Ah, it's him. Is second young Master Su asking us mortals to cultivate as well? Hurry, memorize it. Many mortals watched fixedly at the 81 golden words in midair. At the same time, the conjoined body mighty figures of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend super sects came out of seclusion one after another. In fact, even many half-martial ancestor experts appeared. Desolate Martial wishes to establish a Tao and impart martial arts to all living beings. Could a junior truly have accomplished such an unprecedented act? Some people were shocked while others were doubtful. Enigma Palace. A slightly rotund cultivator danced with joy and shouted excitedly. Old man, hurry and come out! Brother Su succeeded! Stop your fuss, I'm watching. In the void, a figure appeared and gradually materialized. The old man wore a Confucian crown and held a folding fan in his hands. With a grim expression, he looked at the golden words in the firmaments and said in a deep voice, If this half of the Martial Sutra is truly as Desolate Martial has described, it will be a supreme merit that will bring blessings to the masses and ensure their eternal existence. Chapter 12-15 9 Transformations of the Martial Tao. Chapter 12-15 9 Transformations of the Martial Tao. Although the 81 golden words looked extremely mysterious, even many conjoined body mighty figures and half-martial ancestor experts could not make out anything from them. Those with spirit roots can sense the spirit qi of heaven and earth before advancing to qi condensation, foundation establishment, and form their golden cores. Su Zimo's aged voice continued ringing through Tianhuang mainland. Those words were common knowledge for cultivators. However, he was now saying it for the masses. Those without spirit roots cannot sense the spirit qi of heaven and earth and can only look for other methods. Actually, a human's body is a huge treasure with endless potential. The essence of the Martial Sutra is to refine one's body using secret skills and stimulate its potential to form a core. Although Su Zimo had a mortal body, he made use of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness to condense a demon inner core. Be it immortal, demon, Buddhist or fiend cultivation, core formation was an insurmountable realm and was one of the most important ones as well. It was like a watershed. After forming a core, one's lifespan would increase to 500 years. At that moment, it was not only the mortals in the world, even cultivators of many sects were listening to desolate martial impart his Dao regardless of their cultivation realms. The martial Dao uses secret skills to refine the body, and there are a total of 9 transformations. Each transformation has a unique breathing method and body tempering technique that allows the body to transform and be reborn. I call it the 9 transformations of the martial Dao. Actually, this half of the Martial Sutra contained many secret skills sutras that contained the profoundness of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects, as well as Su Zimo's own comprehension. However, his inspiration came from his demonic cultivation. It was as the mighty figure of Tomb sect in the ancient battlefield had said, Su Zimo's existence was unprecedented. He cultivated the demon, immortal, Buddhist and fiend Daos. That was the reason why he was able to create a Dao that belonged to him. First transformation of the martial Dao. 9 bulls 2 tigers. The moment he said that, 9 golden words appeared individually in the firmaments, shining with a bedazzling light. The 9 golden words seemed to transform into 9 little people that practiced 9 different actions in midair before coming to a stop. Those 9 words were the breathing secret skill of the first transformation. Those 9 actions were the body tempering secret skill of the first transformation. After attaining greater mastery of the first transformation, one would possess immense strength. Second transformation of the martial Dao, 5 Chi essence. The second transformation aimed to refine one's organs. The 5 organs of the human body could also be called the 5 great divine treasures and possessed unimaginable potential. By refining the 5 organs, one could condense the divine chi of the 5 treasures and clear their 7 orifices. They would possess the amazing universal sight and hearing as well as receive an immense gain in strength. Even 5 horses would not be able to tear them apart. The organs refinement section of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness only began at the 5th section. However, Su Zimo pushed forward the refinement of one's organs in the martial Dao. As he said that, another 9 golden words appeared in the firmaments, shining with beams of light and displaying different stances. Third transformation of the martial Dao, bronze skin steel bones. This transformation focused on the skin and bones. At greater mastery, one would be invulnerable against weapons and fire and water. In the skies, 9 golden words shone once more, taking on human form and conjuring 9 body tempering secret skills. Fourth transformation of the martial Dao, undulating flexibility. At greater mastery of this transformation, one would be able to change their muscles, expand and contract their bones and tendons. Their appearances could be changed and they could be tall, strong or skinny. Fifth transformation of the martial Dao, lead mercury amalgam blood. The 5th transformation was marrow cleansing and blood swapping. The bloodline would be condensed powerfully and flow gradually through one's body like a lead mercury amalgam. Their bones would be like snow, flawless without any impurities. At greater mastery of this transformation, one would possess lead mercury amalgam blood. At perfected stage, it would be tsunami blood. However, it was not only for mortals. Even for cultivators, it was extremely difficult to cultivate to the tsunami blood realm. Furthermore, in the Martial Sutra, one would be able to advance to the next transformation upon cultivating to the lead mercury amalgam blood realm. 6th transformation of the martial Dao, blood chi golden core. After refining their organs and swapping blood through their marrow, one's blood chi would be robust and finally converge, forming a golden core of blood chi in their dantian. They would officially advance to the golden core realm. Above the clouds, the 9 tiny golden figures practiced 9 different styles before hugging their blood chi eventually to condense a golden core. Good, good, good! Within Enigma Palace, the old man with the Confucian crown nodded repeatedly with a shocked expression. Even with his eyesight, it was difficult for him to comprehend the obscurities behind those actions in a short period of time. However, the old man was clear that if one cultivated the technique and had sufficient endowments, those mortals without spirit roots would definitely be able to form a core using this half of the Martial Sutra. After forming a core, all paths would lead to the same goal. No sect would reject the inclusion of a golden core. Although there was only half of the Martial Sutra, after any mortal cultivated to the 6th transformation of the martial Dao, they could join any sect to cultivate the spirit refinement techniques thereafter. One would break free from the shackles of a spirit root once their core was formed. Su Zimo's cultivation realm was only at the void reversion realm, and it was already his limit to be able to deduce the cultivation techniques and secret skills required for core formation. Therefore, there was only half of the Martial Sutra. 7th Transformation of the Martial Dao, Astral Infusion. From then on, the difficulty of cultivation increased exponentially, and even if there were 10,000 people, there might not be a single person who could cultivate it successfully. Of course, if they succeeded in cultivation, their combat strength would increase tremendously. 8th Transformation of the Martial Dao, Indestructible Diamond. This transformation was even more terrifying. Although it was not beyond the realm of core formation, one's body would be indestructible like a diamond and possess shocking regeneration capabilities with an immensely strong bloodline. 9th Transformations of the Martial Dao, Dragon Elephant Force. This was the final transformation of the Martial Dao. At its peak, one's strength was comparable to a divine dragon and elephant. Even at the 9th transformation of the Martial Dao, one was not beyond the core formation realm. How terrifying was it for a golden core to possess the power of the divine dragon and elephant? The final 9 golden words were displayed in midair and froze slowly. The 81 golden words transformed into 81 small golden figures that stood in midair. They shone with a brilliance that seemed eternal. At that point, Su Zimo paused and took a deep breath before continuing. The later 3 transformations of the 9 transformations are extremely difficult and cannot be forced. If you want to continue cultivating, it would suffice just to cultivate to the 6th transformation to condense an essence spirit. Unbelievable! In 100 Refinement Sect, Mighty Figure Extreme Fire was shocked and said slowly, "Even I feel that the power contained in this half of the Martial Sutra is mysterious, and I look forward to it. If I can cultivate again, I'll definitely try to cultivate this Martial Dao. The merit of creating this is comparable to the eternal human emperor." Another conjoined body Mighty Figure lamented. Mighty Figure Extreme Fire said, "The rarest thing is that Zimo did not hide anything at all and spread this half of the Martial Sutra to the entire world. Even I can't compare to his magnanimity." In the cultivation world, nobody would casually impart any cultivation techniques or insights they had. However, this half of the Martial Sutra that Su Zimo spent 5,000 years to tirelessly deduce, he imparted it without holding anything back at all. Desolate Martial wishes to establish a Dao and impart martial arts to all living beings. Desolate Martial imparted his Dao and brought blessings to the entire world. Chapter 12:16 Fruit of the Martial Dao. Chapter 12:16 Fruit of the Martial Dao. The path of the Martial Dao was long, and Su Zimo merely deduced the beginning. However, the passing of this half of the Martial Sutra was equivalent to completing the grand wish he made back then. For all living beings in the world, as long as they were willing to, they could cultivate the Martial Sutra. After forming a core, they could choose according to their heart, cultivating immortal, Buddhist or fiend cultivation. All living beings could cultivate. This was equivalent to giving everyone a chance to change their fates. Against cultivators, demon beasts and calamities, even the most ordinary mortals would be able to protect themselves and would no longer be at the mercy of others. "Bro, did you see that?" In the stone statue cemetery, Su Zimo murmured softly. His old face had a complicated expression. There were emotions, regrets, and longing. Sigh. He sighed deeply. It's time to leave. He had 50 more years to live. That bit of lifespan was insignificant for void reversions who had 5,000 years of lifespan. The flame of life in his body could extinguish at any moment. Su Zimo had no confidence of advancing to the Dharma characteristic realm in that condition. Under normal circumstances, breaking through a major cultivation realm as such was extremely difficult. Only when a cultivator's blood qi was strong and their entire life was at its peak could they succeed in breaking through. For void reversions, once they were over 4,000 years old, they were considered to be in their later years, let alone someone with only 50 years of lifespan remaining. There were extremely few people who could break through to the Dharma characteristic realm after 4,000 years old. Su Zimo was already 4,950 years old, and was only hanging on by a thread. Right then, the 81 golden figures in the skies transformed into streaks of golden light and returned to the stone statue cemetery, gathering before Su Zimo. In the blink of an eye, all 81 of them fused together to form a palm-sized golden ball that shone with a bedazzling light. What is this? Su Zimo was momentarily stunned. He actually had a bloodline connection to the golden ball. Could that be a Dao fruit? A thought flashed through Su Zimo's mind as he recalled some of the records he had read in the ancient books at the bottom of the Dragon Burial Valley. Legend has it that before passing away, some accomplished monks would condense their lifetime's worth of cultivation essence into Dao fruits, and leave them in the form of relics for fated people. That was an extremely high realm. Even Mahayana patriarchs could not do it, let alone Su Zimo. What was even stranger was that there was a faint fluctuation of life coming from the golden fruit that was different from the Dao fruits in the legends. In reality, Su Zimo's guess was not wrong. That golden fruit was the fruit of the martial Dao. Ordinary Dao fruits contained the essence of a cultivator's cultivation and contained many legacy secret skills and insights. It was impossible for those Dao fruits to possess any fluctuations of life. However, Su Zimo's situation was different. That Dao fruit did not condense the essence of his cultivation, but the profoundness of the martial Dao. Not only that, the Dao fruit received the augmentation of a vow that contained the will of the martial Dao as well as the beliefs of the masses. The culmination of those various powers produced a martial Dao fruit filled with the vibrancy of life. This was an unprecedented phenomenon even in the 3,000 worlds, let alone Tianhuang mainland. This martial Dao fruit could be considered as an anomaly beyond the three realms and was not part of the five elements. It was unprecedented. Su Zimo looked at the golden fruit before him and pondered for a long time. Unable to make out anything, he put it away in his storage bag. Thereafter, Su Zimo dragged his aged body and walked out of the cemetery step by step. Outside the Three Tribulations domain, many cultivators were gathered there, discussing fervently. Desolate martial should have deduced the martial Dao in this Dao inheritance ground, right? It should be. This dimensional tear is still around. Strange, it's less than 15 years since the battle between Desolate Marshal and Xian Yu. Why would Desolate Marshal say that he has spent close to 5,000 years? Those cultivators had not only come out of curiosity, but also because of the orders of their sects. Among them were cultivators from the 10 upper sects and aristocratic families of the North region. Right now, Su Zimo was definitely an important figure in the entire cultivation world, especially in the North region. Back then, after the battle with Xian Yu, he was encircled by many conjoined body mighty figures, but he managed to escape unscathed. The death of 6 mighty figures without exception was still a mystery among the upper sects. For sects and factions such as Dragon Tiger Sect and Dark Ghost Sect who had offended Su Zimo in the past, they were even more concerned about Su Zimo's situation and activity out of guilt. As the crowd discussed, a figure gradually appeared in the Three Tribulations domain. Under the Yin wind, he staggered as though he could fall at any moment. The clamor gradually quietened down. All the cultivators watched fixedly. Before long, the figure gradually became clear and had already exited the Three Tribulations domain. It was an old man with white hair and a face filled with wrinkles. His eyes had turned cloudy and his blood chi was weak. The old man's spine was slightly bent and he was hunched. After close to 5,000 years, that skinny and aged body could no longer support the worn green robes on his body. The cultivators were stunned and opened their mouths slightly. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. This was Dao being Desolate Marshal. Was this the once invincible monster incarnate who killed many titular disciples here and looked down on the world? Was this the peerless paragon that could be reborn after being killed by a half-martial ancestor expert? None of the cultivators could see the image of Su Zimo anymore. The sharpness, drive, and dominance of the past seemed to have vanished without a trace after 5,000 years. The only thing that was familiar about the old man was his green robes. All the cultivators present could tell with a single sweep of their spirit consciousness that Su Zimo was at the end of his lifespan and was on the brink of death. Ha ha! Finally, some cultivators could not help but burst into laughter. Desolate Marshal, oh desolate Marshal, you were once domineering and arrogant. To think that this day would come for you. This is karma. A series of sarcastic remarks sounded from the crowd. All these years, these so-called paragons were suppressed too badly by Su Zimo. That name had already become a nightmare for many cultivators that they could not forget. The titular disciples of the various super sects were killed by Su Zimo single-handedly. As long as Su Zimo was alive, they would always be beneath him. Sigh, what a pity. A cultivator shook his head gently and lamented. To think that even a monster incarnate like Desolate Marshal wouldn't be able to escape the sands of time. I wonder what he experienced to end up with such an outcome. To impart martial arts to all living beings is something that defies the heavens and is extremely difficult. I'm sure that Desolate Marshal has expended all his effort for the half-martial sutra. Some people gloated, some lamented, and some watched coldly from the sidelines. The behavior of humans no longer caused any stirs in Su Zimo's heart. He smiled faintly and arrived before the dimensional tear. Without looking at everyone, he strode in and vanished. Chapter 12:17 Return. Chapter 12:17 Return. The news of Su Zimo's appearance in the Dao inheritance ground spread through the entire cultivation world rapidly. In the depths of a bamboo forest, there was a simple wooden house. It's a pity that my brother Su had to exhaust his lifespan in order to establish the martial Dao and change the fates of the living beings in the world. At the entrance of the wooden house, a man with a cold expression leaned against the wall and shook his head gently, sighing. I wonder if it was all worth it in the end. From the wooden house, a white-bloused woman walked out with a steaming bowl of medicine and handed it to the man. The man received it naturally. The white-bloused woman sat beside the man and looked at his face with a pitiable expression, saying somewhat reproachfully, "And you're talking about him? Aren't you the same? What about me?" the man asked in surprise. The white-bloused woman replied, "You gave me the 9 revolution soul return elixir. However, your own essence spirit injuries have yet to recover." She pursed her lips after a momentary pause and asked, "Was it worth it?" "Ha ha!" The man laughed and drank the medicine in the bowl. "Of course it's worth it. Someone has been taking care of me all these years and I don't even have to return to the sect." "You!" The white-bloused woman blushed and thumped the man on the shoulder with an embarrassed expression. However, immediately after, she looked worried and sighed gently. "Essence spirit injuries are the most difficult to heal. I wonder if there's any solution." "It's best if there isn't any," the man mumbled. "Nonsense!" The white-bloused woman frowned. "Your cultivation can't advance and your combat strength will be greatly reduced if your essence spirit's injuries can't heal completely." "How can that do?" "Once my essence spirit injuries heal, you'll head back, right?" the man asked in a seemingly casual manner. The white-bloused woman smiled with a gentle look in her eyes. To think that this was what the man was worried about. Leaning against the man gently, she murmured, "Don't worry, the so-called immortal sects and the people there have completely disappointed me. I'll never return again." 100 Refinement Sect. Mighty Figure Extreme Fire stood at the entrance of the hall and listened to the news from his disciples for a long time in silence. "Grand Master, my condolences," Dao Lord Scarlet Star said. "Uncle Master left behind the legacy of the martial Dao. Even if he dies in meditation, it'll be a good ending without any regrets." Mighty Figure Extreme Fire was silent. Although he had witnessed the deaths of countless people, he still felt a sense of sadness when he heard that Su Zimo's lifespan was almost up. Dragon Tiger Sect. "What?" The sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect stood up suddenly and his heart skipped a beat. His gaze intensified as he glared at a disciple below and asked in a deep voice, "Are you sure that Desolate Marshal only has 50 years left to live?" "It's absolutely true," The Dragon Tiger sect cultivator nodded. It's not just me. Many cultivators outside the Three Tribulations domain detected it as well. There's absolutely no mistake. In that case, Desolate Marshal won't live for long? The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect sat back slowly with a skeptical expression. Ever since the annihilation of the 6 conjoined body mighty figures more than 10 years ago, the name Desolate Marshal had always rattled him and he could not sleep well. He was afraid that one day, Desolate Marshal would suddenly enter the Dharma characteristic realm and come knocking. He had even dreamed of such a scene over the years. According to the Grand Elder of the sect, if Desolate Marshal were to advance to the Dharma characteristic realm, no one in the sect would be able to defend against the latter. But now, the sudden news of Desolate Marshal's exhausting lifespan after just more than 10 years left the sect master of Dragon Tiger sect in skepticism. This great foe who caused him restless nights was about to die. Sect master. The cultivator below pondered for a moment and asked, could Desolate Marshal be using some trick to confuse us? There's no need for that. The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect shook his head. After a brief pause, he continued, however, Desolate Marshal isn't dead yet. He still has 50 years of lifespan left. This means that he still has a chance to enter the Dharma characteristic realm. If he enters the Dharma characteristic realm and his lifespan extends to 10,000 years, he will be reborn. That's impossible. An elder beside the sect master of Dragon Tiger sect shook his head. Even if he has 500 years left, it'll be difficult for him to break through a major cultivation realm, let alone the fact that he only has 50 years left. Even so, I'm still worried. The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect narrowed his eyes and said sternly, after all, he's Desolate Marshal, the one who established the martial Dao. It's not surprising for anything to happen to him. What are your plans? The sect elder asked. Go and gather more information and see what Desolate Marshal's next move is. The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect said, if there's a chance, kill him. He still has 50 years of lifespan left, and we can't give him any chances. Sect master, aren't you afraid of offending the Mahayana patriarch behind him? The sect elder frowned. Back then, there was already bad blood after the 6 conjoined body mighty figures tried to kill Desolate Marshal. If you attack again, there's probably no room for negotiation between us and Desolate Marshal anymore. Humph! The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect sneered. Elder son, you're too cowardly. I'll attack in a completely justifiable manner this time round. Even the Mahayana patriarch behind Desolate Marshal won't be able to vent his anger on me. Desolate Marshal is still at the Void Reversion Realm right now. If I send cultivators of the sect at the Void Reversion Realm to challenge him openly, that won't be bullying. The sect elder shook his head in silence. Although he was an elder of Dragon Tiger sect, he thought to himself that it was vicious. Although Desolate Marshal was indeed at the Void Reversion Realm, he was already 4,950 years old and his lifespan was almost up. His blood chi was deteriorating and he did not have much combat strength. Right now, any random void reversion could most probably kill him. This was a blatant plot. That Desolate Marshal is at the bottom of the Dragon Burial Valley and probably won't come out again with another 50 years to his lifespan. The elder of Dragon Tiger sect shook his head. I'm afraid you won't stand a chance even if you harbor such intentions. I won't force things. The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect waved it off. If there's no chance, forget it. I can't possibly head to the bottom of the Dragon Burial Valley to kill. Bottom of the Dragon Burial Valley. Su Zimo returned to the familiar courtyard. Monk Yuan Bei had been waiting there for a long time. The two old men exchanged glances. Suddenly, Su Zimo smiled. He looked slightly worse than Monk Yuan Bei. This proved that at the very least, Monk Yuan Bei had more than 50 years to live. However, Monk Yuan Bei could not return Su Zimo's smile. You must be tired. Go and have a good sleep. Monk Yuan Bei sighed gently. All right. Su Zimo nodded in agreement. He had not rested for all these years. Even if he was extremely exhausted, he merely took a nap during his deduction in the stone statue cemetery. Now that he was back at the bottom of the Dragon Burial Valley, he could finally have a good night's sleep. Su Zimo entered the main hall and collapsed on the ground, breathing steadily. Monk Yuan Bei turned around and returned to the cemetery in the backyard. The red-headed ghost grinned with a smug expression. That's fate. Once that lad's green lotus true body dies along with him, he'll only be someone of the dragon race from this day forth. Chapter 12:18 Martial Dao True Body. Chapter 12:18 Martial Dao True Body. The red-headed ghost did not care if the green lotus true body died for the Dao. Everything was fine as long as the dragon true body was fine. However, Monk Yuan Bei sighed internally with a look of pity. Su Zimo was a human after all. The death of his green lotus true body would mean that the last traces of his connection to the human race would vanish as well. His essence, spirit, bloodline and soul would no longer belong to the human race. Monk Yuan Bei could not bear it. However, even with his capabilities, he could not save Su Zimo. With less than 50 years of lifespan remaining, his blood qi was weak, his body would age and his essence spirit would wither. It was impossible for him to break through to the Dharma characteristic realm. Zimo can pass down his Tao to all living beings. Even if his green lotus true body is sacrificed for the Tao, it will remain eternal, Monk Yuan Bei said. The red-headed ghost nodded. I do admire him for that. The fact that he's able to create the martial Tao given his cultivation and allow all mortals of the human race to cultivate is an unimaginable merit for the human race. That half of the martial sutra alone is enough for him to match the human emperor. In the blink of an eye, 10 days passed. Su Zimo slept for 10 days in the grand hall of the old temple before waking up. He was too tired after 5,000 years of deduction. If not for some obsession in his heart, there was a high chance that he would have fallen asleep and never woke up. The old monk was waiting beside Su Zimo. When he saw Su Zimo awake, he asked with a kind expression, Zimo, what are your plans from now on? I've got to leave. Su Zimo said softly. I'm going to return to Pingyang town. His lifespan was almost up. If he could not break through, it would be best if his green lotus true body was buried in his courtyard in Pingyang town beside his older brother, Su Hong. Monk Yuan Bei could read Su Zimo's mind and sighed internally. A fox dies in its hole and a leaf lands at its roots. This might be the best outcome for Su Zimo upon returning to Pingyang town. Don't worry, master, I haven't given up. Sensing the sadness in Monk Yuan Bei's heart, Su Zimo smiled gently. I still have a chance to break through in the remaining 50 years. For anyone else, it was impossible for them to break through with the remaining 50 years of lifespan. However, that was not impossible for Su Zimo. That was because after 5,000 years, he had accumulated more than 30 top secret inheritances of the immortal, Buddhist, and fiend sects. There was also the creation lotus platform in his consciousness. Although Su Zimo's blood qi was deteriorating and his body was aging, his essence spirit did not wither under the nourishment of the creation lotus platform. His essence spirit could still sense heaven and earth. Those were his backing. Of course, his lifespan was still too short, and Su Zimo had no confidence of breaking through either. That was the reason why he chose to return to Pingyang town. It would naturally be best if he could succeed. However, if he failed, it could be considered as returning to his hometown. He still had his dragon true body and there was still a chance for him to meet Daiyu. It was not a bad outcome as well. Furthermore, Taoyao was still waiting for him in Pingyang town. Right then, Su Zimo's heart stirred. As though he sensed something, he touched his storage bag and took out a golden fruit. This is... Monk Yuan Bei focused his gaze. The golden fruit gave off a mysterious aura that even he could not identify. Eh? He sighed gently. What was even stranger was that there was a life force surging out from the golden fruit. It was increasingly clear and intense, as though it could gush out at any moment. Su Zimo's eyes widened as well. It felt as though something was about to be born from the golden fruit. Crack! 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 All of a sudden, Cracks appeared on the surface of the golden fruit. There was a thud, as though something was knocking on the shell of the fruit. Before long, many shards fell off and a pink and tender infant gradually appeared. Lying in Suzimo's palm, it clenched its fists and waved its arms. Suzimo and Monk Yuanbei were stunned. What was going on here? Suzimo frowned in deep thought, and a guess gradually formed in his mind. As for Monk Yuanbei, he had a shocked expression and glared at the infant's moving arms for a moment. The shock in his eyes intensified. How is that possible? He was dumbfounded when he realized that the infant's arms were not flaying wildly. Its tender arms moved with an obscure trajectory, as though they could trigger the most mysterious power in the world. Those actions looked familiar. Monk Yuanbei pondered for a moment, and his heart skipped a beat. Those motions and postures were secret body-tempering techniques that Suzimo had created in the martial sutra. Suzimo also vaguely realized that this infant might be a life form that was born after the martial Dao fruit gained sentience. At the same time, Suzimo was the origin of the martial Dao fruit itself. The moment that thought crossed his mind, the infant stopped waving its arms and opened its eyes. At that moment, an extremely mysterious connection was formed between Suzimo and the infant. The connection was no different from the one between the green lotus true body and the dragon true body. Ordinary Dao fruits would not gain sentience, nor would they possess any signs of life. As for the martial Dao fruit, it was augmented by grand wishes, martial intent, and the faith of all living beings. By chance, it gave birth to a spirit, intellect, and life itself. This infant that was born from the martial Dao was Suzimo as well. Suzimo was elated. Initially, he had some regrets after deducing the martial Dao and creating half of the martial sutra. After all, be it the green lotus true body or the dragon true body, it was extremely difficult for them to cultivate to this stage. Their Dao foundations were firm, and there was no way for him to cripple their cultivations to cultivate anew. In other words, although Suzimo was the one who founded the martial Dao, he did not have the chance to cultivate it. Furthermore, he had already resolved the problem of mortals without spirit roots not being able to cultivate after deducing half of the martial sutra. Yet, he would no longer have the energy to continue deducing from no one. Now that he had this infant, all his problems were resolved. That infant was born because of the martial Dao, and was born for the martial Dao. The infant's cultivation path was completely blank, and he could cultivate the martial Dao and continue to deduce the martial Dao after the 9 transformations. Similar to the dragon true body and green lotus true body, the infant was a martial Dao true body. To a certain extent, the infant was the true Suzimo. That was because the infant inherited his ambitions, determination, pride, Dao heart, and even his martial Dao. Be it the dragon true body or the green lotus true body, in truth, both had already deviated from the true Suzimo by this point of their cultivations. The dragon true body was not a human, but a dragon. The green lotus true body was also a body made from the stem and leaves of the lotus. None of them could be considered as Suzimo. Prior to this, it was difficult for Suzimo to determine which of the 2 true bodies was his true self. That was the reason why he had not established either as the prime body. The moment he caught sight of the infant, Suzimo no longer hesitated. This martial Dao true body was him. Among the 3 true bodies, the martial Dao true body was his prime body. His prime body would break free from the restraints of the dragon true body and green lotus true body completely, and deduce his own Dao, creating an unprecedented glory. Even Dai could not predict Suzimo's future from this point on. Chapter 12:19 Final Arrangements. Chapter 12:19 Final Arrangements. When he sensed the commotion in the hall, the red-headed ghost could not help but run over. Where did this child come from? He widened his eyes and sized up Monk Yuanbei and Suzimo, muttering. He was only gone for a short while. How did a child appear out of nowhere from these 2 old men? A chill ran down the red-headed ghost's spine, and he shook his head hurriedly, casting that thought away. Although the prime body was only a newborn baby, it did not cry or shout. Instead, It watched Monk Yuanbei and the red-headed ghost silently without any fear through its jet-black eyes. Pausing for a moment, it grabbed the broken skin of the golden fruit and stuffed it into its mouth. The broken fruit skin was a great tonic as well. When the red-headed ghost saw that, he could not help but click his tongue in wonder. He had lived for so long, but he had never encountered such a situation. As he looked at the infant, he felt that he was not facing a child, but a mature and unfathomable existence. How could that be? On the other side, Monk Yuanbei's expression changed slightly as he murmured, "What's wrong?" the red-headed ghost asked. Monk Yuanbei pointed at the prime body and said sternly, "I can't read that infant's mind at all." Monk Yuanbei was a Mahayana patriarch and cultivated the great divine power of the Buddhist monasteries, heart-peering, allowing him to read the minds of others with ease. As long as Monk Yuanbei released that divine power, there would be no secret against him. However, when Monk Yuanbei released his heart-peering earlier on to check out what the infant was made of, he realized that he could not read the infant's mind at all. As a Mahayana patriarch, he could not even see through an infant. If news of this were to spread, it would definitely cause an uproar. Su Zimo smiled without replying. The existence of the prime body was a variable. It was beyond the 3 realms and 5 elements. Even the patriarch of Enigma Palace who specialized in divination would not be able to see through the prime body, let alone Monk Yuanbei's heart-peering. Nobody could divine the fate of the prime body. With the existence of his prime body, it would not be a loss for Su Zimo even if his green lotus true body died for the Tao. Of course, he would not give up. If his green lotus true body could enter the Dharma characteristic realm, the benefits of his deduction of the martial Tao would be immense. "Who is that infant?" the red-headed ghost could not help but ask. "He is me." Su Zimo smiled gently. "Ah?" The red-headed ghost was stunned. "It's like the green lotus true body and the existence of the dragon true body. This infant is my martial Tao true body," Su Zimo explained simply. Monk Yuanbei and the red-headed ghost were in deep thought. Legend has it that among the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects of the upper world, there were top-tier cloning techniques such as the 3 pures of the immortal sects, the 3 corpses of the fiend sects, the past, present and future bodies of the Buddhist monasteries. But now, by chance, Su Zimo managed to deduce 3 true bodies exclusive to him. How about leaving this child here to accompany us? The red-headed ghost could not help but say, "I'm almost going to throw up looking at this old monk all day. This child can accompany me instead." "Sure," Su Zimo agreed readily. Although his prime body was the martial Tao true body, it was in the form of an infant, and could not protect itself. It was the best choice to stay at the bottom of the Dragon Barrio Valley to cultivate with the protection of Monk Yuanbei and the red-headed ghost. "Zimo, you're still going back?" Monk Yuanbei asked. "Yes." Su Zimo nodded. "Take care." Yuanbei did not say much and merely reminded. Su Zimo laughed self-deprecatingly. "I'm almost at the end of my lifespan. Even those great enemies of the past won't be bothered to attack me, right?" With that said, Su Zimo bowed deeply to Monk Yuanbei and the red-headed ghost, leaving his prime body behind before turning to leave. After returning to the North region, he did not have much time and did not bid farewell to any old friends. He summoned his spirit vessel and sped towards Pingyang town. Thankfully, his essence spirit did not wither under the nourishment of the creation lotus platform. Otherwise, controlling the spirit vessel for such a long time would consume his life rapidly. This day, a gray-haired old man in green arrived at Pingyang town. Standing in front of Pingyang town, the old man gazed at the town and murmured emotionally, "Big brother, I'm back. Grandpa, I'm sorry." A child who ran out of Pingyang town bumped into Su Zimo's embrace and bowed hurriedly, apologizing with a blushed face. "No worries." Su Zimo smiled gently. The child seemed to feel guilty as he pointed to the town and whispered, "Grandpa, let me tell you a secret. There's a peach blossom immortal in Pingyang town. You can stay in the town for a period of time. If you're lucky and bump into the peach blossom immortal, you can live for dozens of years after eating the peach he gives you." "Thank you?" Su Zimo smiled, rubbed the child's forehead, and stepped into Pingyang Town. Some of the Pingyang Town elders looked at Su Zimo's back view and felt that it was familiar. However, they shook their heads and denied it immediately. When Su Zimo arrived at the courtyard, a tender voice hollered before he could enter. "Who are you?" A tender child suddenly appeared and blocked in front of Su Zimo, looking at him angrily. "No one is allowed in here." Su Zimo remained silent and merely smiled at the boy. Even after more than 10 years, Tao Yao still looked like a child without any changes. "Eh? Why you are, young master?" Tao Yao widened his eyes in shock. Thereafter, Tao Yao sniffed and no longer had any doubts. Instantly, his eyes reddened and he sobbed. "Young master, you're back. I'm so happy. Be but your lifespan." Tao Yao hurriedly took out a huge bunch of peaches from his storage bag and placed them all in Su Zimo's embrace, urging repeatedly, "Young master, eat! Eat them all!" Tao Yao's peaches could increase a mortal's lifespan by dozens of years. However, they were of little use to Su Zimo. Su Zimo did not decline and took over the peaches. He took a huge bite and praised. "Not bad." Tao Yao said nothing and merely sobbed. He could sense Su Zimo's twilight aura. He was afraid that he would never see Su Zimo again. "I am fine." Su Zimo wiped away the tears on Tao Yao's face and said gently, "I'm going to give you a mission. Tell me, young master." Tao Yao pursed his lips and nodded vigorously. Su Zimo said, "I want to cultivate here and prepare for my final breakthrough. I must not be disturbed during this period of time, and you must guard me here." "All right." Tao Yao's expression was resolute. "I'll definitely not let anyone disturb you." After a moment of silence, Su Zimo hesitated for a moment before saying, "If I fail in my breakthrough and my lifespan is up, you don't have to feel sad. Just bury me in this courtyard." To be fair, even he was not confident of entering the Dharma characteristic realm. He had to prepare for his final arrangements. "You won't die, young master!" Tao Yao cried again and shook his head fervently. Chapter 12:20 Tao Yao's Fury. Chapter 12:20 Tao Yao's Fury. Dragon Tiger Sect. "Master, I received definite news that Desolate Marshal has already left the Dragon Burial Valley and returned to Pingyang Town. He hasn't appeared since," a tall disciple said in a deep voice. The sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect sat on a high seat and nodded slightly with a cold glint in his eyes. An elder said in a deep voice, "In that case, Desolate Marshal must have sensed that his lifespan was about to end and decided to return to his roots. There's no need for the sect master to deal with a person who's about to die. Desolate Marshal will always remain a huge problem to the Dragon Tiger Sect as long as he's not dead." The sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect had a sharp gaze. "Previously, our sect participated in the fight between the dynasties and attacked Ethereal Peak. The mighty figure of our sect even tried to kill Desolate Marshal. How can he let things go after these grudges were sowed? I won't be at ease unless I see Desolate Marshal die with my own eyes." The elder wanted to continue persuading. However, he saw that the sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect was resolute, and seemed to have made up his mind. He sighed internally and shook his head in silence. "What about Pingyang Town?" the sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect asked again. "No," the tall disciple said. "I loitered around there for a long time, but there are only mortals in the town. Although their lifespans are longer, none of them cultivated before. Oh, there are many peach blossom trees surrounding the town as well. In other words, Desolate Marshal doesn't have anyone protecting him?" The sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect narrowed his eyes and murmured. After pondering for a moment, the sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect looked at the tall disciple below and ordered decisively, "Tianzhi, you're my eldest disciple. You've joined my sect for many years and are the number one of the void reversion realm in the sect. I'll leave this heavy responsibility to you." "Understood." The disciple named Tianzhi replied in a deep voice. The sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect said, "Choose another 10 void reversion disciples with extraordinary combat strength to accompany you. You must not lose this time round. Shall I infiltrate Pingyang town and wait for an opportunity to strike? Tianj asked. The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect sneered coldly and shook his head. There's no need for you to hide your tracks. Head over straight and say that you're visiting Dao being Desolate Marshal and want to spar with him. Desolate Marshal is a prideful person with a sharp edge. Up till this point of his cultivation, he has never been defeated. Even if he's in his twilight years, he won't fear you and will definitely accept the challenge and fight you. Tianj understood and said, At that time, I can kill him openly. That's right. A killing intent flashed through the sect master of Dragon Tiger sect's eyes as he continued. If the situation doesn't seem right, all of you will gang up and kill him. Pausing for a moment, he continued indifferently. If you can kill Desolate Marshal, all his treasures will belong to you. Tianj's eyes lit up. After Desolate Marshal imparted the Tao, the mortal world was shaken and became extraordinarily lively. All living beings in the world wanted to attain immortality. Who wouldn't want to live forever? However, most mortals did not have the chance or qualifications to become immortals. But now, with such an opportunity placed before them, who wouldn't be tempted? Almost every mortal would attempt to cultivate the martial Tao. However, although the martial sutra was the same, everyone had different endowments and different levels of comprehension. Some mortals could comprehend the obscurities within. However, some mortals could only comprehend the basics. There were also many mortals who did not understand. It was the same in Pingyang town. Be it men, women, old or young, all of them tried to cultivate the martial sutra. Unexpectedly, it was much easier for the mortals in the town to cultivate the martial sutra, and they required less effort. This day, 11 uninvited guests arrived outside Pingyang town. Those cultivators had powerful auras and did not hide their tracks. Wearing the robes of Dragon Tiger sect, their leader was a burly man. It was Dao being Tianj of Dragon Tiger sect. Under Tianj's lead, 10 void reversions strode towards Pingyang town. Before they arrived at the town, the peach blossom branches intertwined and stopped them as though they were alive. Everyone, please return. Entry and exit to Pingyang town is forbidden during this period of time. A slightly tender voice sounded. Tianj sneered internally and ignored that voice. Instead, he said loudly, I'm Dao being Tianj of Dragon Tiger sect. I've long heard of Desolate Marshal's great name. I'm here specially to visit. Please accept my visit, Desolate Marshal. What are you shouting for? With a whoosh, a boy appeared at the entrance of the town, frowning slightly and looking at Tianj and the others somewhat angrily. Kid, who are you? A void reversion asked with a grin. I'm Tao Yao and I serve my young master. The boy replied seriously. Although Tao Yao did not say who his young master was, Tianj and the others could guess. Tianj grinned. Kid, hurry back and inform your young master that I'm here to visit. He does not welcome any guests right now. Everyone, please return. Tao Yao cupped his fists politely still. The smile on Tianj's face widened. The fact that Desolate Marshal was unwilling to meet them was further proof that he did not have much lifespan remaining. He had absolute confidence of killing a dying man. Tianj's expression darkened as killing intent seeped out. He said sinisterly, Kid, you can't make the decision for this matter. If you dare stand in our way, don't blame us for being impolite. Initially, he thought that the boy would definitely be scared out of his wits if he revealed any bit of ferocity after his threat. Unexpectedly, Tao Yao did not show the slightest bit of fear. Instead, his expression turned stiff. You guys wish to harm my young master? Tao Yao was inexperienced in the ways of the world and was indeed pure and kind. However, he was no fool. Senior brother, why are you getting entangled with a kid like him? A void reversion strode forward and reached out for Tao Yao's throat. We can just kill a kid like this with ease. You guys are truly up to no good. Tao Yao looked at the void reversion's extended palm and suddenly attacked without warning. His seemingly skinny arm suddenly rested on the void reversion's arm. A coil and a tremble. Crack! 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 The jarring sound of bones cracking could be heard. Right in front of Tianjia and the others, the Void Reversion's arm was snapped and more than half the bones in his arm were shattered. The Void Reversion only reacted after a brief pause. His expression was stiff as cold sweat poured down instantly. Ah! The person let out a tragic cry. Everyone, watch out! This kid has cultivated into a demon and is a fiend demon! Tianjia cursed. Damn it, I misjudged him. Leave quickly or don't blame me for being nasty! Tao Yao warned seriously. If it was Monkey and the others, they would have killed this group of people without a second word. However, Tao Yao was different. His hands had not been tainted by blood nor had he killed any living being. Right now, snapping the arm of the Void Reversion was the most severe move he had ever made. Chapter 12:21 Retreating in Defeat. Chapter 12:21 Retreating in Defeat. Junior brother Qian! Another Void Reversion was enraged and withdrew a Dharmic weapon from his storage bag right away. He raised his gigantic axe with one hand and cleaved down at Tao Yao's head without any mercy. Tao Yao swayed and arrived before the Void Reversion instantly. It was too fast. At that moment, the Void Reversion had just raised his gigantic axe and it had yet to land. Tao Yao extended his arm and his seemingly tender palm landed on the person's chest. Snap! That person's chest caved in slightly and at least 8 bones were broken. The Void Reversion spat out blood and fell. Everyone, together! This fiend demon has some skills! Tianjia retracted the contempt in his eyes and shouted with a grim expression. Summoning his destiny Dharmic weapon, a sinister long sword slashed towards Tao Yao. His sword was created from the blood of tens of thousands of demon beasts, and was known as the Myriad Beast Blood Sword, a Kane Dao being Dharmic weapon. A single slash could even conjure the faint phantom of 10,000 beasts. It was incomparably strong. Furthermore, the sword was extremely evil and contained the resentment and malevolent aura of all the beasts. Any cultivator that was careless would be affected mentally. This sword played a huge part in why he was able to become the #1 Void Reversion in Dragon Tiger Sect. At the same time, the remaining 8 Dragon Tiger Sect cultivators attacked as well. Some conjured hand seals. Some summoned Dharmic weapons and approached Tao Yao with strange steps, prepared to fight him in close combat and restrain him. Since they were from the same sect, their chemistry was flawless. Tao Yao's expression was unchanged as he scratched his chest. A small sword made of peach blossom wood and was as thin as a needle was revealed. The peach blossom sword was initially hung on his neck. Go! Tao Yao hollered softly. The peach blossom sword fell into the void and expanded instantly, turning 3 feet long. Its body shone with faint lightning as it collided with the Myriad Beast Blood Sword. Humph! Tianjia sneered with a fierce gaze and hollered. How dare you take out a puny wooden sword to embarrass yourself? Break it! Countless Dharmic weapons had been destroyed by the Myriad Beast Blood Sword. The peach blossom sword was unassuming and there were no Dharmic patterns on it. Its power must be limited. Even a metal sword made of universal materials might not be able to withstand the sharpness of the Myriad Beast Blood Sword, let alone one made of peach blossom wood. Clang! The Myriad Beast Blood Sword collided against the peach blossom sword. There were no sparks. It was not as Tianjia had imagined either. On the contrary, as though it was severely injured, the phantoms of the demon beasts were dispersed the moment they appeared. Not only that, the malevolent blood chi on the sword was suppressed completely. This? Tianjia was dumbfounded. There was no way he knew that in the legends, peach blossom wood was an immortal wood that could purge ghosts and evil. It was the most effective against ferocious weapons like his. The 2 swords fought. The Myriad Beast Blood Sword was completely disadvantaged. At the same time, many Dharmic arts descended. Tao Yao was calm. With a stern expression, he waved his hands and his fingertips moved, forming pink flowers that looked extremely coquettish. The pink peach blossoms floated up and collided with the Dharmic arts. Although the Dharmic arts of Dragon Tiger Sect were terrifying, they were shattered by the peach blossoms and their Dharmic powers dissipated. Piak! Tao Yao's figure flashed, and he extended his palm, slapping a void reversion heavily on the cheek. That single slap shattered half of the person's cheek. Bad guy! Tao Yao spat. Bang! 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 His figure flashed consecutively and passed by everyone from Dragon Tiger sect. He attacked decisively and figures were sent flying one after another in a wretched manner. Back then, even Monkey and the others were defeated by Tao Yao. Apart from Night Spirit, Monkey and the others were suppressed by Tao Yao. Dragon Tiger sect specialized in body tempering. Although the physique and bloodline of those void reversions were strong, they were still far inferior compared to Tao Yao. In less than half an hour, 10 void reversions were defeated by Tao Yao. Bones cracked and everyone shrieked repeatedly. If Dao Bing Tianzhe had not noticed that the situation was bad and escaped in time, he would have been suppressed by Tao Yao as well. You're not allowed to shout! Afraid that those cultivators would disturb Su Zimo's seclusion, Tao Yao hollered softly and pointed forward while conjuring hand seals with both hands. Trap! On the peach blossom trees on both sides of the road, many peach blossom branches grew wildly, forming cages that imprisoned the 10 void reversions. Thereafter, a fragrance wafted out from the peach blossoms on the tree branches. The cultivators turned drowsy and the pain on their bodies lessened instantly. All of them became dazed with lost gazes. I'll lock you bad guys here as a punishment, Tao Yao said seriously. Those void reversions were all paragons of Dragon Tiger sect. Even in the cultivation world of the North region, they were famous figures. But now, all of those cultivators looked dispirited. Trapped in cages and hung on peach blossom trees by the road, they looked extremely wretched. Dao Bing Tianzhe had long fled far away and felt relieved when he saw that. It was lucky that he escaped quickly. Otherwise, his outcome would be the same as his fellow sect mates. He would be hung on the peach blossom trees with no choice. This town is way too evil. His expression was terrible as he mumbled. I wonder where this peach blossom tree demon came from. To think that he's so strong! After pondering for a moment on the spot, Dao Bing Tianzhe turned to leave. The situation was beyond his capabilities and expectations. Dragon Tiger sect. What are you talking about? The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect slammed the table and stood up, saying in rage. The 11 of you were defeated by a void reversion peach blossom tree demon? That peach blossom tree was way too ruthless. We were no match for it at all. Dao Bing Tianzhe felt bitter. The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect had a cold expression. Pondering for a moment, he grit his teeth and said, Seems like I've got to get junior brother Fei Ming to make a trip. A Dharma characteristic Dao Lord. An elder at the side frowned. Sect master, aren't you afraid of angering the Mahayana patriarch of Dragon Burial Valley and implicating the sect by asking a Dharma characteristic Dao Lord to deal with Desolate Marshal? What are you afraid of? The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect said coldly. We're not asking junior brother Fei Ming to bring people over to deal with Desolate Marshal, but to kill that peach blossom tree demon first. When the peach blossom tree turns into a demon, it's meant to harm others. As people of the orthodox path, it's only right for us to slay demons. Who can question that? The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect had a clear mind. By killing Tao Yao, they would naturally be able to meet Su Zimo and deal with the latter using various means later on. Even so, the elder was about to persuade but was interrupted by the sect master of Dragon Tiger sect. Elder, there's no need to say more. I've already decided. The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect said in a deep voice. We've got to speed up on this matter. News of their defeat will spread very quickly and things might change if we drag on. True enough. Before long, the upper sects and aristocratic families of the North region as well as Ethereal Peak and the Great Zhou dynasty received the news. Desolate Marshal had already returned to Pingyang town after leaving the Dragon Burial Valley, and the situation was unknown. Chapter 1222 Gathering. Chapter 1222 Gathering. Although Su Zimo was a void reversion, his every action would attract the attention of the major sects and factions of the North region. Desolate Marshal is in his twilight years and is already a foot into the coffin. However, he still has many treasures with him. We can't let him take those treasures with him. Once Desolate Marshal dies, his treasures will become ownerless, and there will definitely be a bloodbath at that time. Who in the world did not want to become the second Dao being Desolate Marshal? When Su Zimo was strong and powerful, countless cultivators and sects coveted his treasures. Now that he was in his twilight years, countless cultivators and sects in the north region were tempted. I heard that Desolate Marshal has less than 50 years to his lifespan. Could he truly be able to advance to the Dharma characteristic realm? Absolutely impossible. If he cultivates his mind and rein in his desires, he might be able to live out the rest of his 50 years lifespan. If he insists on breaking through to the Dharma characteristic realm, he won't be able to live for more than a year. That's right. How difficult and dangerous is it to want to break through a major cultivation realm? Even at his peak, it's unknown if he can succeed. Furthermore, he's already near the end of his lifespan. Instantly, the cultivation world of the North region was discussing this matter. Dark Ghost Sect. Sect Master, should we head to Pingyang Town and fight for Desolate Marshal's belongings? A cultivator asked. Definitely. The Sect Master of Dark Ghost Sect said in a deep voice. Junior Brother Black Leather, lead 10 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords and 50 Void Reversions to Pingyang Town. Pausing for a moment, he continued. However, if Desolate Marshal isn't dead, don't act rashly. Why? Dao Lord Black Leather was puzzled. A centipede dies but never falls completely, the Sect Master of Dark Ghost Sect said. Who knows what else Desolate Marshal has up his sleeves? All you have to do is guard the vicinity. If Desolate Marshal dies, there's no need to hesitate, and you can snatch his belongings right away. Understood. Dao Lord Black Leather replied in a deep voice. Almost at the same time, cultivators from Seven Kills Sect, Blood Mist Sect, Yuan Clan and other upper sects and aristocratic families rushed to Pingyang Town. Instantly, a storm brewed. This small Pingyang Town was targeted by countless sects, factions and paragons. Murong aristocratic family. The Murong family head shook his head gently and lamented. To think that a monster incarnate who founded the martial Dao and established such an immortal merit would end up in such a state. Family head, we've received news one after another that many cultivators from the upper sects are rushing over to fight for Desolate Marshal's belongings. Should we? A cultivator asked. No. The Murong family head shook his head. I once promised Desolate Marshal that if he could establish the martial Dao and allow all living beings in the world to cultivate, I'll pay a personal visit to congratulate him. Desolate Marshal is now in his twilight years and there's no longer any purpose in me extending my congratulations. His future outlook is already so grim, we must not hit him when he's down. That's right. An elder of the Murong family nodded. This is the respect that Desolate Marshal deserves. Among the 10 upper sects, Stellar Luna Sect, Blaze Columbus Valley and Heaven Motion Sect did not make any moves either. The sect masters of the 3 upper sects forbade cultivators from taking part in the matter as well. The capital of Great Zhou. 2 women stood side by side. One was gentle and beautiful while the other was noble and graceful. They were Su Xiaoning and the Empress of Great Zhou, Ji Yaoxue. Brother! Xiaoning looked in the direction of Pingyang Town with a worried expression. I have to go to Pingyang Town and see him for the last time. I'll accompany you. Ji Yaoxue replied. Sister Yaoxue, don't go. Pingyang Town is definitely in danger right now. You are the Empress and you must not take the risk, Xiaoning said. Even if it's extremely dangerous, I have to visit Zimo. Ji Yaoxue's tone was calm but extremely resolute. Xiaoning remained silent for a long time and did not continue persuading her. After making some arrangements for the Great Zhou dynasty, Ji Yaoxue set off with Xiaoning to Pingyang Town. Ethereal Peak. The old immortal crane and Nianxi left the sect right away and rushed to Pingyang Town. Wild Lion Ridge. Monkey and the others were gathered together with sorrowful expressions. Little Fox's eyes were red. It was clear that she had just cried. Seriously, first! He's willing to exhaust his lifespan just for that useless martial Dao. The spirit tiger was indignant. The moment she heard that, Little Fox wanted to cry again. Suddenly, Night Spirit said, "Actually, the situation isn't as bad as you guys think it to be. I heard from First that he has another true body. Even if his Green Lotus true body dies, First isn't dead." "For real?" "Ugh. No matter if it's true or not, let's head to Pingyang Town first. I heard that some of the evildoers of the human race are preparing to snatch away First's belongings." "Bloody hell!" Monkey cursed. "Let's go!" Monkey's group moved instantly as well. Actually, there was a reason why Su Zimo left the Dragon Burial Valley and did not visit his kin such as Xiaoning and Monkey's group. He was already in a bad condition. The long journey from the Dragon Burial Valley to Pingyang Town was already his limit. He did not have the energy to travel around Wild Lion Ridge, Ethereal Peak, and the capital of Great Zhou. Furthermore, given his current state, there were only two possibilities. First, a failed breakthrough. As Night Spirit had said, even if he failed his breakthrough, he still had his dragon true body. More importantly, there was his prime body. He was not dead. He would merely be adding to the sorrows of Xiaoning and the others by bidding them farewell. There was no need for that. The second scenario was a successful breakthrough. That way, there was even less need for him to bid farewell to Xiaoning and the others. At that moment, there was already a commotion outside Pingyang Town. Pingyang Town was still peaceful under Tao Yao's protection. The people in the town were still living their normal lives without being affected. In the courtyard, Su Zimo's breakthrough was at the most critical juncture. Dharma characteristic realm. In truth, it was a sort of conclusion to his past cultivation. The combination of all Dharmic arts was a heaven and earth Dharma characteristic. The reason why heaven and earth Dharma characteristics were so strong was because this Dharma characteristic contained all the comprehension, essence, and power of a cultivator's past cultivation. Under normal circumstances, the conclusion process was extremely long and took a lot of mental energy. Some cultivators might not even be able to break through to the Dharma characteristic realm successfully after 500 years, let alone 50. However, Su Zimo's situation was different. He had obtained more than 30 stone statue inheritances in the Dao inheritance ground. Before he deduced the martial Dao, he had already summarized the cultivation of the immortal, Buddhist, and fiend sects, and had long mastered them. Without such a conclusion, it would be difficult for him to deduce his martial Dao. Therefore, while this process was the most difficult for outsiders, it posed no challenge to Su Zimo. Although his body and blood qi were already deteriorating, his cultivation realm was rising rapidly and was infinitely close to the Dharma characteristic realm. The deduction of nearly 5,000 years was not wasted after all. The sands of time had long melted the barrier of the Dharma characteristic realm, and all Su Zimo had to do was pass through it with ease. This breakthrough was going to be the easiest for Su Zimo ever since he started cultivating. Chapter 12:23 Battle in front of the town. Chapter 12:23 Battle in front of the town. This is Pingyang Town? On a mountain peak 5 kilometers away, there was a dark fog and figures could vaguely be seen. There were more than 100 of them. This town doesn't look like much. I wonder how a monster incarnate like Desolate Marshal was born here. I heard that a peach blossom tree demon with extraordinary strength guarded Pingyang Town. It guarded Desolate Marshal and even beat away Dao Bing Tianzhe of Dragon Tiger sect. Heh! There are a few cages on the peach blossom tree, and those imprisoned within are void reversions of Dragon Tiger sect. Within the black mist were Dao Lord Black Leather, and the others of Dark Ghost sect. Right then, Dao Lord Black Leather's expression changed as he looked towards the northwest. A red cloud was surging over with a nauseating stench. The people from Blood Mist sect are here too, he harumphed. Look over there. The cultivators of 7 Kills sect have appeared. This is going to be interesting. Once Desolate Marshal falls, Pingyang Town will definitely turn into rivers of blood. Many cultivators discussed softly. However, either the cultivators of Dark Ghost Sect, Blood Mist Sect, or Seven Kills Sect attempted to barge into Pingyang Town. They were waiting silently. They were waiting for Desolate Marshal to pass away. They could wait, but some people could not. Before long, Dao Lord Fei Ming of Dragon Tiger Sect arrived with close to 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords around him. They exuded a domineering might, and were filled with killing intent. The expressions of Dao Lord Black Leather and the others changed slightly. Dragon Tiger Sect is going all out. Given the commotion, most of the Dharma characteristic Dao Lords of Dragon Tiger Sect must be here, right? By the looks of it, Dragon Tiger Sect is going to barge in. That's for the best. If Dragon Tiger Sect kills Desolate Marshal, it'll save us time waiting here. At that time, we can just fight for Desolate Marshal's inheritance directly. Dao Lord Black Leather and the others conversed secretly. True enough. After Dao Lord Fei Ming descended, he looked down at Pingyang Town and waved his hand. With a cold gaze, he gave the order. There's a peach blossom tree in Pingyang Town that's evil. Fellow Taoists, kill it! Bad guy! Within Pingyang Town, Tao Yao appeared and hollered at Dao Lord Fei Ming and the others. He had never been so angry before. Even if fiend demons and cultivators had tried to disturb Pingyang Town in the past, all he did was chase them away. However, at that moment, Tao Yao was truly enraged. Why? His young master was already in his twilight years and did not have many years to live. Why were these bad guys so aggressive and ruthless? He was kind-hearted and could not understand. It's just a void reversion peach blossom tree. Let's see what you can do. A Dharma characteristic Dao Lord of Dragon Tiger Sect sneered and strode forward. Gripping his fist, he punched towards Tao Yao. Ah! Tao Yao shrieked and his blood chi burst forth. In fact, the sound of tsunamis could be heard coming from his body. Tsunami blood. Although Tao Yao was at the void reversion realm, his combat strength was unimaginable given the legacy of Dai Yu. He punched in reverse against the person's fist. Bang! The two fists collided. The Dao Lord of Dragon Tiger Sect was shocked and retreated repeatedly. His robes were torn and the skin on his arm was shredded, revealing streaks of blood. Pissed! The surrounding cultivators gasped. Dragon Tiger Sect specialized in body tempering. A Dao Lord of Dragon Tiger Sect fought against a void reversion Dao being in melee combat and actually lost. The combat strength of this peach blossom tree demon was so terrifying. If it was a void reversion earlier on, Tao Yao's punch would have ruptured one of his arms. It's still useless. That's right. Even if the peach blossom tree demon can defeat a Dharma characteristic Dao Lord, two fists are no match for four hands. Dragon Tiger Sect has more than 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords and the peach blossom tree won't be able to last long. Dao Lord Black Leather and the others calmed down and shook their heads. In midair, Dao Lord Fei Ming frowned slightly when he saw that before giving the order. Everyone, join forces. There's no need to hold back. He could sense that the number of cultivators gathered around Pingyang Town was increasing. There was no guarantee that nothing would happen if things dragged on. Dragon Tiger Clash. 7-star slash. Illumination Cruel Sun. More than 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords attacked at the same time and Dharmic arts descended one after another, covering the skies and causing the world to tremble. Tao Yao felt a strong sense of danger. His legacy was strong and his potential was limitless. However, his cultivation realm was limited at the end of the day and he still felt immense pressure against the attacks of more than 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords. It was almost suffocating. There was no time to think. Instinctively, Tao Yao reverted to his true form. Outside Pingyang Town, a gigantic peach blossom tree soared into the skies with lush leaves. Countless peach blossoms bloomed instantly and released Dharmic powers. Bang! 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 Earth-shaking explosions echoed when the many Dharmic arts collided against the blooming peach blossoms. Tao Yao shuddered. The strength of more than 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords was way too strong. Even he could not defend against it. He was already injured the moment they exchanged blows. However, Tao Yao refused to retreat at all. Pingyang Town was behind him. There were cute and kind citizens in Pingyang Town as well as his young master. He could not let those bad guys barge in. Invisible deep underground, thick roots extended and took root, locking onto the spot without retreating at all. "Oh! You bad guys!" The peach blossom tree shrieked with a hint of sadness. Branches danced and created afterimages in midair, buzzing and whipping towards Dao Lord Fei Ming and the others. Piak! 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 Caught off guard, some Dharma characteristic Dao Lords were struck by the peach blossom tree branches and their clothes tore. Instantly, blood scars appeared on their bodies and their bones were exposed as they were sent flying. Even though Tao Yao was truly enraged, he did not kill anyone. He could only cry out repeatedly, "Bad guys, leave! Don't force me anymore! Tao Yao, don't worry! We're here!" A loud roar rose from the ground. Far away, a golden beam of light descended from the skies, carrying the might of thunder as it smashed into the crowd. The expressions of Dao Lord Fei Ming and the others changed as they dodged. Boom! The golden light descended and the ground quaked. A ravine was formed on the spot. A golden rod stood on the spot. Not far away, a monkey with long fur and bloodshot eyes leaped over. With each step, he would leap dozens of feet away and pound his chest heavily with his fists like hammers, letting out thumping sounds like heavenly drums. Behind the monkey was a fiend demon. It was a ferocious demon tiger. There was a mighty golden lion. There was also Night Spirit that flickered like a phantom. At the same time, the sound of a crane echoed. The old immortal crane of Ethereal Peak had descended. A golden-haired, green-eyed girl stood on the old immortal crane. Her body was filled with golden blood chi and her gaze was burning. Chapter 12:24 Appearance of a Mighty Figure. Chapter 12:24 Appearance of a Mighty Figure. Desolate Marshal's helpers are here. It's useless. Among them, only the old immortal crane is at the Dharma characteristic realm. The rest are all at the void reversion realm and won't be able to cause much trouble. It's hard to tell. That black-robed young man is extremely terrifying. Before his sentence was finished, Night Spirit's figure flashed in front of a Dao Lord of Dragon Tiger sect. In a flash, he reached out and grabbed the person's throat. The Dao Lord of Dragon Tiger sect widened his eyes in shock. He merely felt a shadow flash before him and his throat was crushed by Night Spirit before he could react. His blood chi was draining rapidly. It was not over yet. A terrifying ripping power surged into his mind through the wound on his throat and sliced his essence spirit into two. A Dharma characteristic Dao Lord did not even have the chance to escape with his essence spirit. Moreover, Night Spirit had already vanished. There was no pause in his actions from his appearance to his disappearance. Night Spirit was like a god of killing. On the other side, Monkey released the berserk power of his bloodline and his eyes were bloodshot. His strength increased exponentially and he wielded Imminent with both arms, charging into the crowd of more than 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords and dancing. In his berserk state, Monkey could neither feel pain nor danger. Instantly, the 100-odd Dharma characteristic Dao Lords were thrown into chaos. Night Spirit shuttled through the crowd and quickly seized an opportunity to kill another Dharma characteristic Dao Lord. He escaped unscathed and disappeared once more. On the side of Night Spirit and Monkey, they could take Dharma characteristic Dao Lords head-on and even kill the latter. The Spirit Tiger, Ching Ching, Little Fox and Golden Lion were not like them. However, the four of them had their own trump cards and could deal with some Dharma characteristic Dao Lords with all their might. Apart from Night Spirit and Monkey, Nianqi had also displayed immense combat strength. The power of the God race's bloodline was evident at this moment. Although Nianqi's God race bloodline was impure, the combat strength she displayed was not inferior to a true God race being. Nianqi possessed half of the God race's bloodline, and was able to carve her own path in the cultivation world. After Monkey and the others arrived, the situation was stabilized swiftly. On the side of Dragon Tiger sect, Dharma characteristic Dao lords were dying one after another. The situation had already reversed. Although the battle outside Pingyang town was earth-shaking and blood splattered everywhere, it was still peaceful within Pingyang town. Before the battle, Tao Yao had already activated the formation of Pingyang town. This formation was left behind by Su Zimo in the past. How dare a group of fiend demons massacre human cultivators in the cultivation world? Right then, a roar exploded in the crowd like thunder. An irresistible pressure descended and enveloped Monkey and the others. The expressions of the cultivators from the various major sects and factions watching from afar changed. It's a conjoined body mighty figure, Dao Lord Black Leather of Dark Ghost sect said sternly. A figure stood above the clouds with his hands behind his back motionlessly. It was as though he had fused into the world and was unshakable. This was an aura that could only be conjured by conjoined body mighty figures. Seems like Dragon Tiger sect has gone all out. Conjoined body mighty figures are all the grand elders of the sect and rarely show themselves. To think that one would be invited out as well. Isn't Dragon Tiger sect afraid of the person at the bottom of the Dragon Burial Valley attacking? No, a cultivator said. The one in the Dragon Burial Valley is a patriarch of the Buddhist monasteries. The cultivator of Dragon Tiger sect isn't doing anything to desolate martial under the guise of slaying demons. What reason would that patriarch of the Buddhist monasteries have to attack? On the battlefield. After the arrival of the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect, Monkey and the others slowed down instantly as though a massive mountain crushed on their backs. Even Night Spirit's tracks were forced out by the might of this mighty figure. The gaze of the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect landed on Night Spirit instantly, sharp as a blade. He had lived for more than 10,000 years and a single glance was enough to determine the situation. He could tell that Night Spirit was the most troublesome to deal with among the fiend demons. As long as he killed Night Spirit, there was nothing to fear. Bastard, let's see what your true form is. The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect had long realized that Night Spirit was not human. Before his sentence was finished, he had already attacked. The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect stood on the clouds and looked down at Night Spirit with a sharp gaze. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed Night Spirit through the void. Dharmic powers gathered towards the palm of the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect as though they were sucked in by a tremendous suction force. Instantly, a Dharmic power palm that blanketed the skies grabbed towards Night Spirit. That palm sealed almost all of Night Spirit's available space to dodge. Night Spirit narrowed his gaze and raised his fists as well. He charged into the air and punched fiercely against the incoming Dharmic power palm. Boom! The two collided with a loud bang. Night Spirit's body fell to the ground, creating a huge pit. However, he flipped over and stood up quickly without suffering any actual injuries. What? He took a conjoined body mighty figure head on, but he's completely unharmed. What's the background of that beast? The crowd was in an uproar. Most of the time, Night Spirit would make use of stealthy movement techniques to kill in secret. He was merely used to using the simplest and easiest methods to take down his opponents. However, that did not mean that he was weak. Hit! Right then, the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect hollered softly. The moment Night Spirit landed on the ground, a thin silver light appeared from the dust beneath his feet and coiled around his body like a spirit snake. Demon suppressing rope. Furthermore, it was a mighty figure Dharmic weapon. Night Spirit's blood chi surged and released a terrifying power, wanting to break free from the demon suppressing rope. A bedazzling light shone on the demon suppressing rope and Dharmic powers surged. The moment Night Spirit forced out a sliver of space, he was constrained by the demon suppressing rope once again. His legs were completely locked, and he could not budge at all. Even Night Spirit could not break free from a mighty figure Dharmic weapon easily. This mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect had fought countless battles and had many sinister methods. He had long set up a trap on the ground and was waiting for Night Spirit to jump in. Roar! Night Spirit's eyes flashed with coldness as he narrowed his gaze at the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect in midair and let out a shuddering roar. The demon-suppressing rope might not be able to truly trap him. If he were to reveal his true form, there was a high chance he could break free from the power of the demon-suppressing rope. However, the only way for him to reveal his true form in front of everyone was if he were to kill all living beings in the vicinity. Otherwise, his life would be in danger. Those races would definitely not let him grow. The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect withdrew a long whip from his storage bag and whipped Night Spirit, shouting, "Bastard, how dare you shout at me!" Killing intent surged in Night Spirit's eyes. He had never suffered such humiliation. "Night Spirit!" Monkey and the others roared as well when they saw that. However, Night Spirit was trapped and their situation changed drastically as well. They were surrounded by the remaining Dharma characteristic Tao Lords and could not escape. Boom! Suddenly, a violent quake broke out in Pingyang Town. A terrifying aura surged into the skies, connecting the world. As though they were drawn in by something, the Dharmic powers in the world surged towards Pingyang Town, forming a gigantic vortex. Even the auspicious cloud beneath the feet of the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect was almost sucked away. Chapter 1225 Entering the Dharma Characteristic Realm. Chapter 1225 Entering the Dharma Characteristic Realm. All the cultivators looked at Pingyang Town with widened eyes in disbelief. Could it be? Desolate Marshal broke through? That's impossible. Desolate Marshal is in his twilight years and is on the brink of death. How can he still have the energy to step into the Dharma Characteristic Realm? The crowd was in an uproar. Even though they were seeing it personally, the cultivators were unwilling to believe it. Their group had mobilized a large force to come and fight for Desolate Marshal's inheritance. If Desolate Marshal broke through and entered the Dharma Characteristic Realm, his lifespan would increase to 10,000 years and it would mean that he was no longer in danger of dying. If Desolate Marshal was in his peak condition, who would dare lay a hand on his belongings? What was even more terrifying was that there were too few cultivators in the North region who could suppress Desolate Marshal now that he was at the Dharma Characteristic Realm. The impact on the North region was unimaginable. It did not matter if everyone believed it or not. In the skies of Pingyang Town, the gigantic vortex was getting bigger, and its color was turning black, as though it was dyed with ink. The vortex was extremely domineering and absorbed the Dharmic powers of the world continuously. Not only that, even the Dharmic powers within the bodies of cultivators 5 kilometers away surged and seeped out, wanting to be devoured by the gigantic black vortex. Impossible! Tao Lord Fei Ming of Dragon Tiger Sect shook his head repeatedly with a shocked expression. The reason why the 100-odd Dharma characteristic Tao Lords dared to come to Pingyang Town was because Desolate Marshal was in his twilight years and his blood chi was weak. If Desolate Marshal was at the Dharma Characteristic Realm, none of them would be a match for him. What are you panicking for? The conjoined body mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect hollered. With me guarding this place, it won't matter even if that lad, Desolate Marshal, enters the Dharma Characteristic Realm. This conjoined body mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect was a grand elder of the sect. He was in seclusion all year round and had never heard of Desolate Marshal. Elder, you understand. Tao Lord Fei Ming gulped and said in shock. That Desolate Marshal already condensed a heaven and earth Dharma characteristic when he was at the Void Reversion Realm. What? The conjoined body mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect frowned and exclaimed. He had lived for more than 10,000 years and even with his experience, he had never heard of such a situation. Tao Lord Fei Ming continued. Furthermore, his heaven and earth Dharma characteristic is 80 feet tall. He could condense an 80 feet tall heaven and earth Dharma characteristic at the Void Reversion Realm? Bullshit! The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect who was initially skeptical could not help but berate angrily when he heard that. Tao Lord Fei Ming said, Elder, ever since Desolate Marshal started cultivating, he has never tasted defeat and has many trump cards that can kill opponents above his level. I'm talking about a major cultivation realm difference. The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect was even more unconvinced. Enraged, he said coldly. Why? You mean to say that this lad can kill me the moment he enters the Dharma characteristic realm? No, that's not what I meant. Dao Lord Fei Ming explained hurriedly. I just want you to be careful, Elder. It's nothing much. Humph! The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect sneered and berated. I'll let you guys know today that the difference between the Dharma characteristic and conjoined body realm is not something you can imagine. Even if that lad can conjure a heaven and earth Dharma characteristic that's 80 feet tall, I'll be able to shatter it with my mere body. Conjoined body was the fusion of the physical body and heaven and earth Dharma characteristic. Upon entering the conjoined body realm, every single action of his contained the power of heaven and earth and the might of the universe. At that moment, the black vortex above Pingyang town was getting larger and larger, as if it was connecting heaven and earth. Look! What's that? Some cultivators pointed at the gigantic black vortex with trembling voices. Within the black vortex, a figure could be seen faintly. Initially, it was a little blurry, but as time passed, it became increasingly clear. The tall figure was clad in black armor and was shrouded in fiend qi, unexcelled in the world. He wielded a gigantic black scythe that was chilling. It's Desolate Marshal's heaven and earth Dharma characteristic. That's right, this heavenly fiend Dharma body defeated Dao Lord Xian Yu. A wave of shock and astonishment could be heard from the crowd. The tall figure remained motionless within the black vortex, and his figure rose continuously. 10 feet. 30 feet. 50 feet. 80 feet. Before long, the heavenly fiend Dharma body rose to a height of 80 feet. However, that trend did not stop. Once a heaven and earth Dharma characteristic was 80 feet, every single increase thereafter was exceedingly difficult. But now, in the blink of an eye, the heavenly fiend Dharma body had already climbed to a height of 85 feet. At that moment, the cultivators of Dark Ghost Sect, Seven Kills Sect, Blood Mist Sect, Yuan Clan and other major sects and factions were silent with pale faces. The fact that his heaven and earth Dharma characteristic was 85 feet tall right after he entered the Dharma characteristic realm was unimaginable. Even in the Golden Ancient Era, there was probably no human paragon that could reach such a height. As one's cultivation advanced, their heaven and earth Dharma characteristic would also strengthen. He was already able to condense a heaven and earth Dharma characteristic that was 85 feet tall at the early stage Dharma characteristic realm. If he were to cultivate to the perfected Dharma characteristic realm, there was a high chance that this heaven and earth Dharma characteristic would become a 90 feet tall supreme Dharma characteristic. The expression of the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect turned extremely terrible as well. Under normal circumstances, conjoined body mighty figures could indeed suppress Dharma characteristic Dao Lords with ease. However, a Dharma characteristic's heaven and earth Dharma characteristic at this stage could definitely go against a conjoined body mighty figure. In the black vortex, the heavenly fiend Dharma body stood upright with a black scythe in his hands. Two cold beams of light shone from his eyes as he looked down at the world with a torrential aura. In the face of this heaven and earth Dharma characteristic, other Dharma characteristics were insignificant like ants beneath its feet. Even the aura of the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect was disadvantaged against the 85 feet tall heavenly fiend Dharma body. All of a sudden, the heavenly fiend Dharma body moved. With that step, it strode right out of Pingyang town. Instantly, the ground shook and the weather changed. Old man, die! The heavenly fiend Dharma body let out a shuddering roar. Immediately after, the heavenly fiend Dharma body raised its arm and the scythe drew a perfect black arc in midair, slicing the void into two as it slashed towards the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect. The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect did not dare to be careless. He threw away the whip in his hands and took out a steel truncheon from his storage bag, smashing it fiercely towards the black scythe. Boom! The two weapons collided with a loud bang. The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect shuddered and a shocked expression appeared on his face. He fell and opened his mouth, spitting out a mouthful of blood. The heavenly fiend Dharma body was one of the strongest Dharma characteristics of the fiend sections. A height of 85 feet was not something an ordinary conjoined body mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect could defend against. Endless fiend she coiled towards the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect like pitch-black anacondas. In that moment of life and death, the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect risked his life and channeled his blood chi with all his might, summoning many talismans and Dharmic weapons to defend against the corrosion of the fiend chi. Without the Dharmic powers of the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect supporting it, the demon-suppressing rope could no longer restrain Night's spirit. Nobody noticed that Night's spirit had already vanished, leaving nothing but a pile of broken ropes with a dim glow. Just as the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect was trying his best to defend against the attack of the heavenly fiend Dharma body, a phantom-like figure flashed beside him and fused into the pitch-black fiend chi, almost invisible. A palm appeared above the head of the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect. The fingers were sharp and pierced his head. Chapter 12:26 Change in the North Region. Chapter 12:26 Change in the North Region. The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect's expression froze and his eyes widened. Night's spirit's claws pierced through his skull and Essence spirit with ease. A conjoined body mighty figure died on the spot. By the time one cultivated to the conjoined body realm and became a mighty figure, it was extremely difficult for them to die unless their lifespans were expended. That was because the Dharmic powers of conjoined body mighty figures were boundless, and they could even regrow severed limbs. Even if their limbs were severed, they would only lose blood chi and regrow rapidly. Such methods were truly earth-shaking. However, Night's spirit was decisive to kill and did not make any unnecessary movements, aiming for his vitals. The crowd was shocked when they saw that. That was a conjoined body mighty figure. In Tianhuang mainland, Mahayana patriarchs were reclusive and conjoined body mighty figures were almost at the peak of the cultivation world and could dominate the world. But now, a conjoined body mighty figure had just died in front of all the cultivators. The entire process merely took a few breaths. The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect was defeated by Su Zimo's heavenly fiend Dharma body head-on, and was then killed by Night's spirit. He did not even have a second chance to attack. On the side of Dragon Tiger sect, the situation reversed instantly with the death of a conjoined body mighty figure. Monkey, Nian Qi, Tao Yao and the others were invigorated. As for Dao Lord Fei Ming and the others, they were shocked and wanted to retreat. When Desolate Marshal entered the Dharma characteristic realm, his lifespan would reach 10,000 years. This was equivalent to forcefully extending his lifespan by 5,000 years. Originally, he was nearly 5,000 years old, and was on the brink of death. But now, for Desolate Marshal who had a lifespan of 10,000 years, he was at his peak. At his peak, even a mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect could not match him. How could any of those Dharma characteristic Tao lords be a match for Desolate Marshal? Escape! Some Dharma characteristic Tao lords reacted extremely quickly and fled into the distance immediately. However, it was already too late for them to escape. Boom! The heavenly fiend Dharma body charged into the crowd with its massive body that no one could match. Some Dharma characteristic Tao lords could not dodge in time, and were shattered by the heavenly fiend Dharma body without any corpse left. Swoosh! The heavenly fiend Dharma body waved its palm that was shrouded by fiend chi and a gigantic vortex appeared in its palm, pulling 6 Dharma characteristic Tao lords over. The Dharma characteristic Tao lords were dragged into the black vortex and vanished without a trace, turning into rich essence energy after being refined by the fiend chi. The light in the heavenly fiend Dharma body's eyes shone even brighter after it received the tremendous amount of essence energy. It strode forward and stomped down with its massive feet, crushing a few heaven and earth Dharma characteristics that were 50 to 60 feet tall and causing the ground to tremble. The heaven and earth Dharma characteristic condensed by Dragon Tiger sect was only 60 feet at most. They were completely vulnerable against the 85 feet heavenly fiend Dharma body. The gigantic scythe tore through the void and let out a buzzing sound that was shuddering, like the sound of death. A cold and dark light flashed. Poof! 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 3 gigantic heads flew up and blood gushed out like a fountain in midair. The heads of the 3 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords were still flying in midair when the pitch-black fiend Qi invaded their consciousness and killed their essence spirits instantly. The lives of those Dharma characteristic Dao Lords were like grass as they were reaped by the pitch-black scythe repeatedly. Nobody could escape. Figures fell from midair one after another. Blood Qi spread and dyed the ground red. Even the skies were stained with blood. Cultivators of Dark Ghost Sect, 7 Kills Sect, Blood Mist Sect, Yuan Clan and many other sects and factions watched this shocking scene with dumbfounded expressions. Everyone vaguely realized something. The North region had changed. "Hurry, inform the sect!" Dao Lord Black Leather snapped out of his stupor and said hurriedly. Something changed. Desolate Marshal entered the Dharma characteristic realm and a mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect died alongside more than 100 Dao Lords. The cultivators of 7 Kills Sect, Blood Mist Sect and other sects and factions snapped out of their stupor as well and took out their spirit crane messenger from their storage bags. Right then, the group of cultivators suddenly felt their hearts skip a beat and felt chills run down their spines. Not far away, in a pool of blood on the battlefield, the tall heavenly fiend Dharma body had a murderous aura and wielded a bloodied scythe. He was looking over with a cold gaze. The limbs of the cultivators turned cold and they froze on the spot, as though their hearts were about to jump out of their throats. Although the heavenly fiend Dharma body was strong, it was not enough to intimidate them so much that they kept quiet out of fear and did not dare to move. What truly terrified the crowd was the green figure on the heavenly fiend Dharma body. Compared to the indomitable heavenly fiend Dharma body, that figure seemed extremely tiny. However, at that moment, none of the cultivators dared to ignore him. Su Zimo wore green robes and had his hands behind his back. His black hair danced and his skin was smooth without any wrinkles. There was no hint of twilight at all. "First! Young Master!" Monkey, Nian Qi and the others cheered with delighted expressions. Su Zimo looked at everyone and nodded with a smile. Thereafter, his gaze landed on Dao Lord Black Leather and the other cultivators. The hearts of the cultivators skipped a beat. His gaze was extremely calm, but no one dared to meet it. Although they did not fight when they arrived, they had other motives. They wanted Desolate Marshal's belongings. It was definitely a taboo for them to covet someone else's possessions before they even died. They would not even get a chance to explain otherwise if Desolate Marshal killed all of them here because of that. After a long pause, Su Zimo retracted his gaze. The cultivators felt their hearts lighten and unknowingly, they broke out in cold sweat. Some of the cultivators collapsed onto the ground, panting heavily to compose themselves. Were they off the hook? "Go, run! Leave this place!" Dao Lord Black Leather sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness and fled into the distance without turning back. He swore in his heart that he would never step foot onto Pingyang town again in his lifetime. The other cultivators retreated like the tide, leaving nothing but a mess. "Humph!" The spirit tiger's expression was unfriendly as he grit his teeth. "It's lucky that first has entered the Dharma characteristic realm. Otherwise, he would have been humiliated and taken advantage of by these ruffians." How famous was Su Zimo? After establishing his martial Dao, his reputation even caught up to the ancient emperors. If he had truly died here and his belongings were fought over by many sects and factions, it would be difficult for his corpse to remain intact. "I have my own plans for this matter," Su Zimo replied. After all, factions and sects like Dark Ghost Sect and 7 Kills Sect had not made a move. They were not his primary target. The actions of Dragon Tiger Sect had truly crossed his bottom line. Monkey, Tao Yao and the others were injured after the battle. Although their injuries were not serious, Su Zimo felt that it was intolerable. "It's time for some sects to learn a lesson." Looking into the distance, Su Zimo waved his sleeves gently and swept Monkey and the others into the auspicious cloud, saying indifferently, "Follow me." Chapter 1227 Intimidation Tactics. Chapter 1227 Intimidation Tactics. Dark Ghost Sect. When Dao Lord Black Leather and the other cultivators returned to the sect, all of them were covered in dirt, looking as though they had suffered immense shock. Why? You guys didn't manage to succeed? The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect frowned and asked. Which sect snatched away Desolate Marshal's belongings? Blood Mist Sect or Seven Kills Sect? No. Dao Lord Black Leather shook his head. Neither? The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect harumphed coldly. Desolate Marshal has so many treasures, but none of you managed to get your hands on any? Sect master, something has happened. Dao Lord Black Leather composed himself and said, Dragon Tiger Sect sent more than 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords and a conjoined body mighty figure to barge into Pingyang Town. Before Dao Lord Black Leather could finish, the sect master of Dark Ghost Sect nodded and said hatefully, It's no wonder why you guys didn't get your hands on it. For the sake of Desolate Marshal's belongings, Dragon Tiger Sect even brought out a conjoined body mighty figure. No. Dao Lord Black Leather said hurriedly. Nobody succeeded. Desolate Marshal has already broken through and entered the Dharma characteristic realm. What? The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect shuddered with a startled expression before disbelief filled his eyes. How is that possible? He continued hurriedly. Desolate Marshal only has dozens of years to his lifespan and his blood chi is weak. How could he have advanced to the Dharma characteristic realm? It's absolutely true, Dao Lord Black Leather said. Not only that, Desolate Marshal managed to condense a 85 feet tall heaven and earth Dharma characteristic the moment he entered the Dharma characteristic realm. 85 feet. The expression of Dark Ghost Sect master changed once more. However, that was understandable as well. Back at the Void Reversion realm, Desolate Marshal had already condensed a heaven and earth Dharma characteristic that was 80 feet tall. Now that he had crossed a major cultivation realm, there was indeed a chance that he could grow it to 85 feet. Dao Lord Black Leather continued. Thereafter, the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect fought against this Dharma characteristic head-on and was injured and defeated. He was killed by that unknown fiend demon beside Desolate Marshal. More than 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords of Dragon Tiger Sect were annihilated with no survivors. The expression of the sect master of Dark Ghost Sect was already numb. However, shock and fear could vaguely be seen in his eyes. The North region has changed. The North region has changed, he murmured softly. A moment later, the sect master of Dark Ghost Sect asked again. How did you guys return? Desolate Marshal didn't notice you guys? He stared at us for a long time before retracting his gaze. Dao Lord Black Leather recalled that scene with lingering fear. At that time, he truly thought that a calamity was about to descend upon him. Sect Master, could it be that Desolate Marshal did not notice our motive for heading there? Dao Lord Black Leather pondered for a moment and asked carefully. After all, we didn't attack at that time. Desolate Marshal doesn't know why we went either. Do you think that's possible? The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect glared at Dao Lord Black Leather and said coldly. The fact that Desolate Marshal is able to cultivate to this point, do you think he wouldn't have guessed your motives? Then why did he let us go? Dao Lord Black Leather was puzzled. The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect thought for a moment and analyzed. As you said, Desolate Marshal might have let you guys off for the time being because you guys didn't attack. On the other hand, it's also possible that Desolate Marshal has something more important. Right, have you guys noticed what Desolate Marshal did after? The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect asked again. He seems to have gone towards northeast. Dao Lord Black Leather recalled. Northeast direction. The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect took out a map of the north region and took a quick glance. His heart skipped a beat as he murmured. Dragon Tiger Sect? Stellar Luna Sect. Master, there's news from outside. A sect disciple cupped his fists. Desolate Marshal entered the Dharma characteristic realm and killed a conjoined body mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect and more than 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords. Pissed. In the hall, the elders were shocked and gasped. Desolate Marshal is truly a peerless monster incarnate. To think that he could still break through and advance to the Dharma characteristic realm with just 50 years of lifespan left. It's truly unimaginable. Many Stellar Luna sect elders lamented. The sect master of Stellar Luna sect had a relatively calm expression as he asked in a deep voice. What happened after that? Thereafter, Desolate Marshal glared at cultivators of Dark Ghost Sect, Seven Kills Sect, and the other sects for a long time before letting them off. The disciple said. Many elders exchanged glances and cupped their fists towards the sect master of Stellar Luna sect. Our sect master is wise. Although Seven Kills Sect, Dark Ghost Sect, and the other sects and factions did not attack, this matter must have left a huge knot in Desolate Marshal's heart. The reason why Stellar Luna sect stayed out of the affair was because the sect master went against everyone's wishes and did not send any cultivators to take part in it. The sect master of Stellar Luna sect shook his head gently. Desolate Marshal wished to establish a Dao and impart martial arts to all living beings. The reason why I don't agree to the sect fighting for his belongings is out of respect for him. Now, it seems like Desolate Marshal is scarier than we imagined. Pausing for a moment, the sect master of Stellar Luna sect said, If I'm not wrong, Desolate Marshal should be heading to Dragon Tiger sect. Dragon Tiger sect? The disciple asked. Desolate Marshal just entered the Dharma characteristic realm and he dares to enter Dragon Tiger sect? The sect master of Stellar Luna sect said. Over the years, Dragon Tiger sect has provoked Desolate Marshal repeatedly and attacked Ethereal Peak. They even grouped up with conjoined body mighty figures to gang on him and barged into Pingyang town. Given Desolate Marshal's character, he will definitely demand an explanation from Dragon Tiger sect. Pausing for a moment, the sect master of Stellar Luna sect continued. Furthermore, Desolate Marshal's purpose for this trip is probably an intimidation tactic of knocking on the mountain to scare the tiger. He was knocking on Dragon Tiger sect. He was looking to shock the other aristocratic families in the North region. Dragon Tiger sect is probably doomed. The sect master of Stellar Luna sect sighed gently. I don't think so. An elder of the sect frowned slightly. Dragon Tiger sect is one of the 10 upper sects after all and has a foundation of 10,000 years. There's more than one conjoined body mighty figure in the sect. How can Desolate Marshal wipe out an upper sect single-handedly? The sect master of Stellar Luna sect shook his head. Elders, without witnessing Desolate Marshal personally, none of you will ever be able to experience his strength. Back when he was at the Void Reversion Realm, Desolate Marshal had many methods to kill Dharma characteristic Dao Lords. Now that he's already at the Dharma characteristic realm, ordinary conjoined body mighty figures might not be his match. From this day forth, Glass Palace will probably be the only faction in the North region that can suppress Desolate Marshal. All of us in the 10 upper sects will have to bow down to him. The elders were shocked. Sect Master, isn't that a little exaggerated? That's right. Desolate Marshal is only a Dharma characteristic Dao Lord after all. How can he stand above the 10 upper sects? Even if Desolate Marshal's Heaven and Earth Dharma characteristic is 85 feet tall, it's not invincible. How can the foundation of the Dragon Tiger sect be so easy to deal with? The elders shook their heads. Let's wait for the outcome of this battle. The sect master of Stellar Luna sect replied indifferently. He could not believe that Desolate Marshal could challenge Dragon Tiger sect either. However, nobody knew how strong Desolate Marshal's combat strength was after he entered the Dharma characteristic realm. Nobody knew what Desolate Marshal obtained in the past 5,000 years. The only thing he was certain of was that there was going to be a huge battle at Dragon Tiger sect. If Desolate Marshal was defeated in this battle, the situation in the North region would not change much. If Desolate Marshal won, the situation would be set, and even the upper sects and aristocratic families of the North region would have to bow down and submit. Chapter 1228 Stripped of the North Region. Chapter 1228 Stripped of the North Region. Dragon Tiger Sect. As the sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect, Luo Hua was under immense pressure. At that moment, he stood at the peak of Dragon Tiger Peak and gazed into the distance with a hint of worry. He did not know if he had made the right choice. However, this was an opportunity for him and Dragon Tiger Sect. If he could obtain Desolate Marshal's belongings, There was a high chance he could become the second Desolate Marshal and also find the opportunity to step into the conjoined body realm. Under his lead, Dragon Tiger sect could also become the leader of the 10 upper sects of the North region. There were 2 different opinions within the sect. The first wanted to express goodwill to Desolate Marshal. Most of those elders were weak and indecisive. They were not suitable to accomplish great things. Dao Lord Luo Hua pouted and sneered internally. The other suggestion was for him to lead everyone and suppress Desolate Marshal to obtain the greatest benefits. Junior brother Fei Ming and the others should have gotten their hands on it by now, right? Dao Lord Luo Hua murmured softly. For some reason, his heart palpitated inexplicably. What's going to happen? He frowned slightly. It was an unusual palpitation, similar to an adrenaline rush. At their cultivation realm, they had an imperceptible sixth sense towards certain things. As sect master, something bad has happened. Right then, a flustered disciple sped over. That person yelled from afar before he even reached. Dao Lord Luo Hua's heart sank. The disciple was a cultivator guarding the destiny symbol shed. As the name implied, the destiny symbol shed was where the destiny symbols of cultivators were stored. If anything were to happen to the cultivators outside, the destiny symbols would change, and the sect would be informed about it as soon as possible. Before he could ask, the disciple said, "The destiny symbols of Uncle Master Fei Ming and the others have all shattered." What? Dao Lord Luo Hua's expression changed starkly. Including Fei Ming, there were 101 people in total. Yet none of them are left? Dao Lord Luo Hua asked with a cold gaze. And none. The disciple was scared out of his wits as well and said incoherently, "All their destiny symbols have shattered." Suddenly, Dao Lord Luo Hua's expression turned pale. As though he was severely injured, he clutched his chest and took a step back. That was more than 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords. Including those in seclusion and those who were out on expeditions, there were less than 200 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords in Dragon Tiger sect in total. But now, more than half of them were gone. No, that's impossible. Dao Lord Luo Hua shook his head repeatedly. Elder Tianhu went as well. How could Fei Ming and the others be completely annihilated? That made no sense. In this operation, he even expected that some of Desolate Marshal's old friends and acquaintances would rush over to help. That was the reason why he invited Elder Tianhu out of seclusion. That power was enough to crush Desolate Marshal's power into dust. How did such a huge change happen? Could it be that person from Dragon Burial Valley? Dao Lord Luo Hua murmured softly. Right then, another cultivator sped over with a flustered expression. Before he arrived, he yelled, "Sect Master, something bad is happening. It's said that Desolate Marshal has already entered the Dharma characteristic realm and killed Elder Tianhu and Uncle Master Fei Ming's group of more than 100 outside Pingyang town." What did you say? Dao Lord Luo Hua glared and said word by word. He did not believe that Desolate Marshal would be able to break through to the Dharma characteristic realm and stand shoulder to shoulder with him given his limited lifespan. Luo Hua, get the hell out! Right then, a loud roar sounded from outside the sect, spreading to every corner of Dragon Tiger sect like thunder. Desolate Marshal is here! Dao Lord Luo Hua's heart skipped a beat. If Desolate Marshal had truly entered the Dharma characteristic realm, he was almost certain that Desolate Marshal would come to settle scores with him. However, he had not expected Desolate Marshal to arrive so quickly. Swoosh! Dao Lord Luo Hua withdrew a talisman from his storage bag that soared into the air and exploded. It was a messaging talisman. It would only be used if the sect was met with a critically dire situation. The sect was stirred. Countless powerful auras burst forth and everyone woke up from their seclusion cultivation. What is going on? There's someone else who dares to cause trouble at the entrance of Dragon Tiger sect? Dao Lord Luo Hua said in a deep voice. Everyone, this person's Dao title is Desolate Marshal and he's the #1 enemy of our sect. Now that he's here, please join forces and kill him. The Dharma characteristic Dao Lords in seclusion did not know who Desolate Marshal was. That's for sure. If he dares to create havoc in Dragon Tiger sect, he'll be doomed. I was wondering what sort of a mighty figure patriarch it was. So, it's a Dharma characteristic Dao Lord. These days, even Dharma characteristic Dao Lords dare to be so arrogant. Under Dao Lord Luohua's lead, many Dharma characteristic Dao Lords headed towards the entrance gate. Some elders in the sect shook their heads when they saw this. They were the ones who did not agree with Dao Lord Luohua's plan from the start. To think that this plan would still attract trouble for Dragon Tiger sect in the end. Outside Dragon Tiger sect. Standing on the clouds, Su Zimo looked down at the paradise beneath his feet. Dragon Tiger sect was surrounded by mountains and lush trees. There was even a clear spirit spring flowing between the peaks. It was an excellent cultivation field. You guys are injured. You can just observe from here. Su Zimo glanced sideways and instructed Monkey and the others. I can still fight! Monkey yelled excitedly. Su Zimo smiled gently. It won't be too late for you guys to attack if I meet with danger. Where did this arrogant fool come from? How dare you shout in Dragon Tiger sect? Right then, dozens of Dharma characteristic Dao Lords walked out of Dragon Tiger sect. One of them sneered at Su Zimo and hollered. You don't recognize me? A look of surprise flashed through Su Zimo's eyes. Even in the entire Tianhuang mainland, his Dao title was renowned, let alone in the North region. Among these people, some of them were in seclusion most of the time and did not recognize who Desolate Marshal was. I'm here to look for Luo Hua today. Anyone unrelated should make way. Su Zimo's expression turned cold as he looked at the dozens of Dharma characteristic Dao Lords of Dragon Tiger sect opposite him. What do you want from me? The crowd dispersed and Dao Lord Luo Hua, the sect master of Dragon Tiger sect, walked over slowly. First, you have to die. Su Zimo did not waste his breath on Luo Hua and said straightforwardly. Second, from this day forth, Dragon Tiger sect shall disperse. Brazen! How arrogant! You're only a Dharma characteristic Dao Lord and yet you want Dragon Tiger sect to disperse because of you? Ridiculous! That's the greatest joke in the world. Dao Lord Luo Hua shook his head as well and sneered. I won't agree to either of your demands. Desolate Marshal, you are indeed strong. However, it's a fool's dream if you think that you can shake the foundation of Dragon Tiger sect that has lasted for 10,000 years single-handedly. It's fine if you don't agree. Su Zimo smiled faintly. If you don't agree, I'll kill you personally. I'll destroy Dragon Tiger sect personally and strip its place in the North region. Chapter 1229 Great Sanskrit Light Fist. Chapter 1229 Great Sanskrit Light Fist. You're asking for death. Many Dharma characteristic Dao Lords of Dragon Tiger sect hollered. Bang! 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 One after another, heaven and earth Dharma characteristics surged into the skies like gigantic spirits. Instantly, the world shook and Dharmic powers surged with a rampant might. The heights of those heaven and earth Dharma characteristics were different. The weakest were 30 feet tall while the strongest were 60 feet tall. A Dao Lord of Dragon Tiger sect controlled a Dharma characteristic that was more than 50 feet tall with his spirit consciousness and charged towards Su Zimo in huge strides. With every step the heaven and earth Dharma characteristic took, the ground would tremble with a shocking aura. Humph! Su Zimo sneered. Without even using his heavenly fiend Dharma body, he chanted a few Sanskrit words rapidly and threw out a punch. That punch was like a blazing sun that shone with a bedazzling light. Great Sanskrit Light Fist! That Dharmic art was inherited from a stone statue in the Dao inheritance ground. It was one of the top Dharmic arts of the Buddhist sects back in the ancient era and had a shocking might. The burst of each punch resembled the descent of a blazing sun and was incomparably tough. Before the 50 feet tall Dharma characteristic could reach Su Zimo, its massive body was punctured by the great Sanskrit Light Fist. What? The Dao Lords of Dragon Tiger sect exclaimed in shock. A Dharma characteristic that was more than 50 feet tall could not even defend against a single Dharmic art from the other party. What was even more frightening was that the heaven and earth Dharma characteristics' Dharmic powers dissipated and was on the verge of disappearing before it even collided against the great Sanskrit light fist properly. The difference was too great. Although Su Zimo had just entered the Dharma characteristic realm, his essence spirit cultivated the cultivation techniques of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects and fused more than 30 inheritances. The essence of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects was profound, and the power of his essence spirit was comparable to a conjoined body mighty figure. The range of his spirit consciousness could extend to 5,000 kilometers. What was 5,000 kilometers? For ordinary cultivators who had just entered the Dharma characteristic realm, their spirit consciousness could only extend to 500 kilometers. The difference was 10 times. That difference was even more significant in a fight. The essence spirit was powerful and gushed with Dharmic powers. Alongside a top-tier Dharmic art, even a 60 feet heaven and earth Dharma characteristic could not defend against it, let alone one that was 50 feet. Boom! The great Sanskrit light fist struck the Dharma characteristic Tao Lord heavily. That person had summoned his destiny Dharmic weapon as well, but it was shattered by a single punch. At the same time, his body was torn apart without a corpse. It was just a single punch. A heaven and earth Dharma characteristic dissipated and a Dharma characteristic Tao Lord's essence spirit was destroyed. Sandstorm! Su Zimo's attack was not over yet as he pointed forward. One after another, violent gusts of wind rose from the ground, sweeping up endless mud and rocks. Every single sand particle possessed powerful Dharmic powers as they howled towards the Tao Lords of Dragon Tiger sect, covering the skies. Poof! 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 Some heaven and earth Dharma characteristics that were 40 feet tall and below were shattered by the Dharmic art, and their Dharmic powers dissipated. They could not withstand it at all. Sandstorm was also an inheritance from a stone statue in the Tao inheritance ground. It came from the immortal sections. Each of those ancient inheritances possessed shocking might, and a single inheritance was enough for one to dominate the world. Avicii! Fiend chi coiled around Su Zimo's fingertips, and a region the size of a palm was swiftly formed. It was sinister, filled with blood mists and specters. Su Zimo threw that hell above the heads of the many Dharma characteristics of Dragon Tiger sect. Avicii was initially small. However, it expanded rapidly upon descending and enveloped the dozens of Dharma characteristic Tao Lords like a world. The heaven and earth Dharma characteristics waved their fists within and Dharmic powers surged, but they could not break free. Avicii was an extremely terrifying place. Nobody could endure the endless torture of Avicii physically and mentally. The only few heaven and earth Dharma characteristics that managed to hold on were more than 60 feet tall. Even then, they were destroyed completely by the pressure of this Dharmic art. Without the support of their heaven and earth Dharma characteristics, the Tao Lords of Dragon Tiger sect could not defend against Su Zimo's Dharmic arts. How dare you guys try to stop me with your heaven and earth Dharma characteristics? Su Zimo crossed over the heads of the Dharma characteristic Tao Lords with his hands behind his back without even looking at them. Sect Master, save me! Tragic cries sounded one after another, but there was no response. Back when Su Zimo released his second Dharmic art, Tao Lord Luohua had already seized the opportunity of the chaos to escape back to the inner sect of Dragon Tiger sect. He knew very well that the dozens of Dharma characteristic Tao Lords could not stop Su Zimo. Su Zimo did not take Tao Lord Luohua's escape to heart. He was going to flatten Dragon Tiger sect today. Tao Lord Luohua had nowhere to hide. Monkey and the others stood on the auspicious cloud and did not attack at all. They merely watched by the side in a carefree manner. Tao Yao felt much less aggrieved as well. Sect Protection Formation activate! Tao Lord Luohua returned to Dragon Tiger Peak and activated the Sect Protection Formation right away. Elders, Dragon Tiger sect is in danger. Even if you don't agree with my previous decision, you can't just watch as Dragon Tiger sect is destroyed. Tao Lord Luohua looked at the dozens of sect elders not far away and said with a menacing expression. The elders exchanged glances and sighed. We're only at the Dharma characteristic realm as well, and there's a limit to what we can do, an elder said. If even this sect protection formation can't stop Desolate Marshal, we won't attack him. That would be courting death. Sigh, perhaps this is the fate of Dragon Tiger sect. Don't worry, Dao Lord Luohua said in a deep voice. This sect protection formation was set up by a top-tier formation grandmaster. Even if a conjoined body mighty figure were to come, it would be impossible for him to dispel it in less than a month. Even if Desolate Marshal can't break through the sect protection formation, what can you do? An elder asked. I can send a message to the other sects and have them send experts to help, Dao Lord Luohua said. Impossible. An elder laughed mockingly. Given the current situation, which of those upper sects would want to get involved in this mess? All of them are definitely awaiting the final outcome of this battle. Dao Lord Luohua's expression was dark. There's also Glass Palace. Glass Palace and Desolate Marshal have a feud. If we inform Glass Palace, they won't sit by idly. Before his sentence was finished, the entire sect protection formation shook. The light flickered and showed signs of dispersing. What? Impossible! Dao Lord Luohua's expression changed starkly. No matter how strong Desolate Marshal was, he was only comparable to conjoined body mighty figures at most. How could he shake this formation? Without hesitation, Dao Lord Luohua said hurriedly. Hurry, hurry! Elders, hurry and help steady the formation! Many elders scattered everywhere, and conjured hand seals, sending Dharmic powers into the sect protection formation to stabilize it. A gigantic barrier of light shrouded the skies above the Dragon Tiger sect. Outside the barrier, a green-robed figure stood, looking down at Dao Lord Luohua's group with a mocking expression. Luohua, even your array formation can't stop me, Suzimo said indifferently. Today, I'll show you how I dispel the formation. Chapter 1230 Flattening the Formation. Chapter 1230 Flattening the Formation. The sect protection formation of Dragon Tiger sect was indeed extremely mysterious. It was as Dao Lord Luohua had said, even for conjoined body mighty figures, it would take them at least a month to dispel it with brute force. However, he missed something. If a Grand Master well versed in array formations were to arrive, they would not even need to rely on brute force. Instead, they could locate the eye of the formation and destroy it instantly. More than 10 years ago, Suzimo's attainment in array formations could not even be considered as a great formation master, let alone a Grand Master. However, in the Dao inheritance ground, among the more than 30 inheritances he had received, one of them came from an ancient formation Grand Master. Nobody knew what sort of transformations he had experienced in the Dao inheritance ground. One of them was his attainments in array formations. The formation patterns of the sect protection formation were complex and mysterious. In the eyes of cultivators who did not know about formations, it was akin to a heavenly book that they had no clue about at all. But now, Suzimo merely swept his gaze and found a clue within the complex formation patterns. He conjured hand seals with both hands and released 3 Buddhist Dharmic seals in succession. Fiend Suppression Seal, Demon Subduing Seal, Immortal Trap Seal. 3 Dharmic seals of the Buddhist monasteries descended with a terrifying might towards the light barrier beneath. The elders of Dragon Tiger sect were shocked. Under normal circumstances, the power of the 3 Buddhist Dharmic seals would not be enough to deal with the sect protection formation. However, the landing spot of the 3 Dharmic seals happened to be where the 3 formation eyes were. The formation eye was the core of the formation and was also the source of its power. Through the eye and formation patterns, power ripples out and channels the formation, increasing its strength multiplicatively to form various different formations. Once the formation eye was dispelled, it would be difficult to maintain the formation no matter how intricate the formation patterns were. Impossible! Dao Lord Luohua's eyes widened in disbelief. How long had it been since he activated the sect protection formation? It was probably less than 10 minutes. In that short period of time, Desolate Marshall managed to identify the three formation eyes of the sect protection formation without any deviations. What the hell? Bang! 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 There were 3 loud bangs. 3 Dharmic seals of the Buddhist monasteries descended and smashed heavily against the 3 formation eyes, causing massive Dharmic powers to ripple. The formation eyes shattered and lost their support. Instantly, the entire sect protection formation shook and flickered. Su Zimo closed in and took a step forward, stomping heavily on the light barrier of the sect protection formation with his right foot. Break! Bang! Boom! Boom! That single stomp caused the ground to quake. Under countless gazes, dense cracks appeared on the light barrier of the sect protection formation and spread rapidly. The entire mountain gate of Dragon Tiger sect trembled as though the apocalypse had arrived and the sky was collapsing. The elders felt as though they were struck by lightning and shuddered, spitting out a mouthful of blood with dispirited expressions. Shattered. The sect protection formation that Dao Lord Luohua said could defend against the power of a conjoined body mighty figure for a month was destroyed by Su Zimo just like that. The foundation of the Dragon Tiger sect that spanned 10,000 years was still trampled beneath Su Zimo's feet. If that was the case for the sect master of Dragon Tiger sect, it was even worse for the other cultivators. The crowd was astonished. Some of the cultivators were already fleeing in panic. Su Zimo ignored everything. The main reason why he came this time round was to kill Dao Lord Luohua and remove Dragon Tiger sect from the upper sects. It was not for a massacre. Desolate Marshal! Dao Lord Luohua hollered angrily. Dragon Tiger sect is one of the 10 upper sects of the North region. Do you really want to be overbearing and kill us all? Fufu. Su Zimo sneered. Luohua, Dragon Tiger sect took part in the fight between the dynasties and attacked Ethereal Peak. In fact, you even sent a conjoined body mighty figure of the sect to hunt me down. I've never sought accountability for any of those events. But now, even at the verge of my exhausting lifespan, you sent more than 100 Dharma characteristic Dao Lords and a conjoined body mighty figure relentlessly to barge into Pingyang town. Who is overbearing one who was trying to kill me? Dao Lord Luohua was rendered speechless by the barrage of questions. Ugh! Many elders shook their heads and sighed. Dao Lord Luohua grit his teeth. Since things have come to this, it's useless to say anything more. Desolate Marshal, I can only tell you that Dragon Tiger sect has a history of 10,000 years. If we really fight to the death, it'll only result in an internecine outcome. Is that so? Su Zimo said indifferently. I want to see what Dragon Tiger sect is going to hurt me with today. Bang! Bang! With 2 consecutive explosions, 2 cave abodes on Dragon Tiger Peak exploded, and 2 extremely terrifying auras burst forth with a suppressive might. 2 conjoined body mighty figures had appeared. The sect was met with a calamity, and could be destroyed at any moment. These conjoined body mighty figures who were in seclusion all year round had finally appeared. Furthermore, Su Zimo could vaguely sense that the 2 mighty figures were not the only ones in Dragon Tiger sect. Those who could cultivate to the conjoined body realm were all grand elders of Dragon Tiger sect. The 2 old men looked extremely similar. Although their beards were grayish-white, they were hale and hearty and had robust blood chi. They did not show any signs of weakness and had bright gazes. A gigantic bronze bell hovered above the head of the old man on the left. The old man on the right held a dark gold tripod in his palm. In the cultivation world, cultivators who used Dharmic weapons such as bells, tripods and furnaces were not to be trifled with and had extraordinary combat strength. These 2 siblings had the same parents, and were extremely famous in the cultivation world of the North region 5,000 years ago. They were known as the Bell Tripod Twin Lords. Both of their combat strengths were extremely strong. Coupled with their telepathic connection and chemistry, the combat strength they released would increase exponentially. The most famous battle between the 2 of them was when they were Dharma characteristic Dao Lords. They once worked together to repel a conjoined body mighty figure. Greetings, Elders Zhong and Ding. Dao Lord Luohua bowed slightly with a respectful expression. The 2 old men nodded. Elder Zhong on the left said in a deep voice. Desolate Marshal, please return. I've heard some of your deeds. Indeed, Dragon Tiger sect won't be able to stop you with our foundations if you manage to cultivate to the conjoined body realm. He suddenly stopped speaking. Elder Ding at the side continued. However, you've just entered the Dharma characteristic realm. It's a fool's dream for you to want to flatten Dragon Tiger sect. The two old men were telepathic and completed their sentences as though it was only one of them speaking, even their tone was identical. Is that so? Su Zimo smirked coldly. Let's see how you two are going to stop me. Kill! Suddenly, the two elders shouted at the same time and formed a triangular formation, charging towards Su Zimo. Before they arrived, the gigantic bronze bell and dark gold tripod in their hands had already arrived. The materials used for the two Dharmic weapons were extremely rare metal ores. The mystic magnet mountain did not have much effect on the two Dharmic weapons either. The gigantic bronze bell emitted an extremely mysterious energy that shrouded Su Zimo's head. It was as though he was carrying a ton of weight, and could not move at all. As for the dark gold tripod, it smashed towards Su Zimo. Elders Zhong and Ding displayed immense combat strength the moment they attacked. Chapter 1231 Rulai Dharmic Body. Chapter 1231 Rulai Dharmic Body. Conjoined body mighty figures could release immense heaven and earth powers alongside unparalleled heaven and earth momentum with every single move. Conjoined body mighty figures were fused with heaven and earth. Of course, combat strength at the conjoined body realm varied as well. The combat strength of Elders Zhong and Ding was clearly much stronger than the mighty figures of Dragon Tiger sect who died in Night Spirit's hands outside Pingyang town. Su Zimo felt a sense of pressure. No matter what, he was at the Dharma characteristic realm. If he wanted to retaliate against the pressure and power of a conjoined body mighty figure, he could only rely on his heaven and earth Dharma characteristic. Rise! Su Zimo shouted. Boom! A phantom soared into the skies from Su Zimo's body. It was clad in armor, and exuded rumbling fiend chi that was pitch black. Wielding a black scythe, it was murderous. It was the heavenly fiend Dharma body that was 85 feet tall. The crowd was astonished. Everyone from Dragon Tiger sect looked up instinctively, and their eyes were filled with shock as they looked at this indomitable fiend celestial-like existence. 85 feet. A Dharma characteristic with this height was something they had never seen before or dared to imagine. The most terrifying thing was that Desolate Marshal was only at the early stage Dharma characteristic realm. If he continued cultivating, his heaven and earth Dharma characteristic would continue to grow, and at that time, there was a high chance it would become a 90 feet tall Supreme Dharma characteristic. The Dharma characteristic ranking was held once every 1,000 years. However, it had been many years since a Supreme Dharma characteristic had appeared in the cultivation world. The most recent was Extreme Fire. Not long after, Extreme Fire broke through and fused his Dharma characteristic with his body to become a conjoined body mighty figure. That Supreme Dharma characteristic appeared fleetingly and did not cause much of a stir. On the battlefield. Initially, the gigantic bronze bell had pinned Su Zimo on the spot, slowing his movements and giving him immense pressure. But now, the heavenly fiend Dharma body surged into the skies and resolved the pressure on Su Zimo instantly. Slash! He pointed forward. The eyes of the heavenly fiend Dharma body shone with two pitch-black fiend lights. Raising its arm, the gigantic scythe drew a crescent-shaped cold light in midair and slashed heavily against the incoming dark gold tripod. Clang! Sparks flew as the two weapons collided. The dark gold tripod was sent flying. The heavenly fiend Dharma body merely swayed without retreating a single step. However, Elder Ding staggered 3 steps back with a dark gaze and a grim expression. The power of a 85 feet tall heaven and earth Dharma characteristic was so terrifying. Wielding a gigantic scythe in his hands, the heavenly fiend Dharma body glared at Elder Ding and growled deeply. Instantly, it exerted strength and charged forward. Demon, don't get cocky now! Not far away, Elder Zhong hollered and slapped the gigantic bronze bell viciously. OM! A terrifying sound domain attack descended. The heavenly fiend Dharma body shuddered as though it had suffered a huge blow. It paused for a moment, and its speed slowed down as well. The sound domain attack was extremely lethal, and even Su Zimo felt a sharp pain in his ears. But soon, Sanskrit sounded in his consciousness and dissipated that power. Although Elder Zhong's expression was unchanged, a storm brewed in his heart. His sound domain secret skill was extremely terrifying. With the amplification of the gigantic bronze bell, the lethality of the sound domain attack was something that even conjoined body mighty figures could not withstand. To think that desolate marshal managed to endure it. Clang! Elder Zhong tossed the gigantic bronze bell over and it collided against the scythe of the heavenly fiend Dharma body. This time round, Elder Zhong did not retreat. This did not mean that Elder Zhong was stronger than Elder Ding. It was because Elder Zhong had made use of a sound domain secret skill to affect the speed of the heavenly fiend Dharma body. Even its power was dissipated significantly. Clang! 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 The heavenly fiend Dharma body raised its black scythe and clashed against Elders Zhong and Ding. The heavenly fiend Dharma body was extremely strong. If the two elders were to separate, it would be difficult for either one to defend against the power of the heavenly fiend Dharma body. But now, Elders Zhong and Ding had chemistry in their coordination. The moment anything happened to one party, the other party would send support swiftly so that the heavenly fiend Dharma body could not sustain its lethal attacks. With that, the heavenly fiend Dharma body was gradually disadvantaged. Desolate Marshal! Elder Zhong hollered. Is that your trump card? Although a 85 feet tall heaven and earth Dharma characteristic is strong, it's impossible for you to challenge Dragon Tiger sect with that Dharma characteristic. Bang! Bang! Both of them released their Dharmic powers at the same time and clashed against the heavenly fiend Dharma body. The heavenly fiend Dharma body staggered a few steps in retreat. Su Zimo's lips curled and he said in a shocking manner, Since a single heaven and earth Dharma characteristic won't do, I'll summon two. Boom! It was yet another deafening sound. A phantom soared into the skies. Bald and dressed in monk robes, it wielded prayer beads and had a lowered head. This Dharma characteristic was dignified and its body seemed to be covered in a layer of gold. What? That's a second heaven and earth Dharma characteristic. Desolate Marshal managed to condense two heaven and earth Dharma characteristics after entering the Dharma characteristic realm. The origin of that heaven and earth Dharma characteristic is not simple either. If I'm not wrong, that should be the legendary Rulai Dharmic body. A series of exclamations came from the crowd. Under countless gazes, the dignified Dharma characteristic grew continuously. 10 feet. 30 feet. 50 feet. In the blink of an eye, the heaven and earth Dharma characteristic had grown to 80 feet. Furthermore, it showed no signs of stopping. 85 feet. Before long, the heaven and earth Dharma characteristic grew to a height of 85 feet before truly stopping. An 85 feet tall heaven and earth Dharma characteristic was enough to stir the entire cultivation world of the North region, let alone two. This heaven and earth Dharma characteristic was one of the strongest Dharma bodies of the Buddhist monasteries, the Rulai Dharmic body. The reason why Su Zimo was able to create the Rulai Dharmic body was mainly because of the Great Day Rulai Sutra. Of course, the reason why the Rulai Dharmic body could grow to such a level was also because of the close to 5,000 years of cultivation and comprehension in Buddhism. Two indomitable titans stood between the mountains of Dragon Tiger sect. One was violent and sharp. The other was calm as water. One was a Dharma characteristic of the Buddhist monasteries. One was a Dharma body of the fiend sections. Two completely different heaven and earth Dharma characteristics from different lineages were fighting side by side without any resistance. Kill him! He pointed forward. Bang! Bang! The two heaven and earth Dharma characteristics moved at the same time. Their massive feet stomped on the ground, causing a stir. The reason why Elders Zhong and Ding were able to force back the heavenly fiend Dharma body was because they had chemistry with one another, and it was 2 against 1. Now that the Rulai Dharmic body had joined the battlefield and separated Elders Zhong and Ding, their advantage was gone. In less than 10 rounds, Elders Zhong and Ding were fighting on their own and were already steadily losing ground. They could not stop the advancement of the heavenly fiend Dharma body and Rulai Dharmic body at all. When the Rulai Dharmic body stood still, it lowered its head and looked neither sad nor joyful. It was calm and gentle. However, with a single thought from Su Zimo, the Rulai Dharmic body opened its eyes and let out 2 shuddering gazes. Enraged diamond gaze. That gaze caused Elder Zhong's courage to weaken and he panicked. The Dharmic art that he had just conjured was gone. Clang! The Rulai Dharmic body punched out and struck the gigantic bronze bell. It was like a gigantic stone pillar that struck the gigantic bronze bell. The bell rang sharply and suddenly exploded. Elder Zhong, who was the closest to the Dharmic weapon, was in an extremely terrible state. His ears were pierced by the sound domain attack released by his own Dharmic weapon and blood gushed out. Chapter 1232 Slaying a Mighty Figure. Chapter 1232 Slaying a Mighty Figure. The gigantic bronze bell was sent flying by a single punch from the Rulai Dharmic body. It was extremely fast and carried a terrifying power as it smashed towards Elder Zhong. Elder Zhong did not have time to dodge, and could only extend his arms as his blood chi surged to receive the gigantic bronze bell. Bang! He shuddered and his expression changed as he spat out a mouthful of blood. The power of the Rulai Dharmic body was way too strong. The Rulai Dharmic body originated from the supreme mystic classic of the Buddhist monasteries, the Great Day Rulai Sutra. However, there were many Buddhist legacies condensed on the Dharma body. Apart from Daming Monastery and Phahua Monastery, there were also some ancient Buddhist legacies in the Stone Statue Cemetery. The eyes of the Dragon Tiger sect cultivators were filled with endless shock and fear. Even when he had just entered the Dharma characteristic realm, his 85 feet heaven and earth Dharma characteristic was enough for him to reign supreme across the same cultivation realm, and could even kill opponents that were major cultivation realms above him. But now, Desolate Marshal had formed 2 heaven and earth Dharma characteristics. This was unprecedented. The psychological pressure was even more intense than the visual impact of the 2 heaven and earth Dharma characteristics. Many Dragon Tiger sect cultivators even harbored a thought that Desolate Marshal was invincible. Be it Dharma characteristic Dao lords of the same cultivation realm or nascent souls and void reversions of the younger generation, all of them felt despair. 2 85 feet tall heaven and earth Dharma characteristics destroyed the mental defenses of the Dragon Tiger sect cultivators. Even Elders Zhong and Ding were feeling regret at the moment, let alone them. However, it was already too late for them to back down. It was too late for them to stop now. Kill! Churning their blood chi to their limits, the 2 elders roared. What are you guys waiting for? Before their sentence was finished, 2 figures suddenly flashed and sped towards Su Zimo with terrifying auras and shuddering killing intent. Another 2 conjoined body mighty figures. That was the foundation of upper sects. Although there were no ancestor realm experts in the sect, there were close to 10 conjoined body mighty figures. That was how Dragon Tiger sect was able to become one of the upper sects of the North region and pass down their legacy for 10,000 years. Actually, the 2 conjoined body mighty figures had been hiding in the vicinity the entire time. However, they had not appeared. The 2 mighty figures were cautious by nature. Even though Su Zimo was only at the Dharma characteristic realm, they did not underestimate him and were in no hurry to attack. Instead, they were waiting for the best opportunity. At that moment, even without the reminder of Elders Zhong and Ding, they would have attacked. The Rulai Dharmic body and heavenly fiend Dharma body had been lured away by Elders Zhong and Ding, and were no longer by Su Zimo's side. At the current moment, Su Zimo was at his weakest. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged and his eyes flashed with mockery. His spirit consciousness was comparable to a conjoined body mighty figure, and was augmented by his powerful spirit perception. Naturally, he had long sensed the existence of the two conjoined body mighty figures. Since he dared to have his heavenly fiend Dharma body and Rulai Dharmic body keep their distance from him to hunt down elders Zhong and Ding, he naturally had powerful means to deal with other unforeseen circumstances. Nobody could imagine what level Su Zimo had reached after experiencing 5,000 years of consolidation in the Dao inheritance ground and advancing to the Dharma characteristic realm. His entirety was not just the two heaven and earth Dharma characteristics. Of course, these were Su Zimo's trump cards, and he would not reveal them so easily. Furthermore, the combined attack of two conjoined body mighty figures was still not enough for him to release his third heaven and earth Dharma characteristic. Turning slightly, Su Zimo closed two fingers on his left hand and conjured a sword art, slashing gently at the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect on the left. Chi! A blazing sword beam burst forth and created a vast expanse of white, almost slicing the void into two as it descended on the mighty figure's head instantly. Heaven's slaying sword art! All the killing intent in the world seemed to have converged into the sword art at that moment. It was extremely sharp. After 5,000 years of deduction cultivation, Su Zimo's understanding of the heaven's slaying sword art had already reached greater mastery. After entering the Dharma characteristic realm, the might of the sword art increased as well. As his comprehension of the heaven's slaying sword art deepened, the power of the sword chi that was released became even more terrifying. It was extremely sharp and seemed like it could destroy everything. The aura of that mighty figure was sliced into pieces by the sword chi. Ah! The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect exclaimed in shock and stopped in his tracks, summoning a defensive Dharmic weapon to defend himself. Clang! The heaven-slaying sword chi struck the Dharmic weapon. The sword chi vanished. A white streak appeared on the Dharmic weapon. All of a sudden, the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect retreated rapidly and tossed away the Dharmic weapon in his hands. The moment the Dharmic weapon left his hand, it split into two and fell to the ground with a clean cut. It was sliced into two by a single sword chi. Trying to flee? Su Zimo shook his head gently and controlled his finger sword, slashing out once more. Compared to when he was at the void reversion or nascent soul realm, it was much easier for him to release the heaven-slaying sword chi now. No matter how fast the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger sect retreated, he could not be faster than the heaven-slaying sword chi. Whoosh! The mighty figure's reaction was extremely fast. He tore apart a talisman immediately and formed an indestructible barrier before continuing to escape. Snap! The sword chi entered the protection Dharmic barrier. The Dharmic barrier shattered instantly. It could not withstand the sharpness of the heaven-slaying sword chi. A flash of blood light appeared. The arm of the conjoined body mighty figure was sliced off by the heaven-slaying sword chi and blood splattered, dyeing half the skies red. This was the blood of a conjoined body mighty figure, and contained boundless Dharmic powers. The power within a single drop of that blood was enough to kill a golden core. Ah! The mighty figure let out a tragic cry and his face was pale. Channeling Dharmic powers, under countless gazes, the muscles on the broken wound twitched and a brand new arm grew rapidly. His arm was regrown. At the conjoined body realm, one could regrow their arms or legs even if they lost them. Destroying the body of a conjoined body mighty figure was extremely difficult. A series of exclamations sounded from the mountain gate. Cultivators of Dragon Tiger sect have long heard about how conjoined body mighty figures could regrow severed limbs, but none of them had witnessed it personally. That was normal. At the conjoined body realm, one was almost at the peak of the cultivation world. How many people could sever the arm of a conjoined body mighty figure? This scene was like a miracle that truly shocked everyone. However, the cheers of the crowd did not stop and an even more shocking scene happened. The moment that brand new arm was born, streaks of blood appeared on it. TSK! 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 It was as though endless sword chi were slicing through his arm. Poof! In the blink of an eye, the arm exploded and vanished once more. The heaven-slaying sword art was known as one of the three great ancient sword arts, and possessed terrifying might that could destroy life. Although the conjoined body mighty figure merely lost an arm, his wound possessed a sharp edge that could destroy all life. It was impossible for him to regrow his arm against that sharpness. Ah! The conjoined body mighty figure endured the pain of losing an arm once more and could not help but cry out tragically, almost falling from midair. A severed arm was not a fatal injury to a conjoined body mighty figure. However, his arm was severed twice in succession, and his blood chi was drained severely as well. Before he could catch his breath, an intense sense of danger descended once more. A sword chi tore through the air and attacked, drowning his figure completely. A third heaven-slaying sword chi descended. This time round, he could no longer dodge. Right in front of everyone, the conjoined body mighty figure was sliced into two by a white sword chi. The sword chi surged into his consciousness, and minced his essence spirit instantly. A mighty figure was dead. Chapter 1233 Bow of Mighty Figures. Chapter 1233 Bow of Mighty Figures. The Chi Refinement Warriors, Foundation Establishment Cultivators, Golden Cores, and some other cultivators at the lowest rung looked at the scene in a daze. They were shocked and remained silent for a long time. Up till this point of their cultivation, they had never even seen a conjoined body mighty figure attack. This was the first time. But this time round, a conjoined body mighty figure that was insurmountable and beyond their reach had died right in front of them. This scene would be etched in the hearts of many cultivators forever and could not be erased. Conjoined body mighty figures could shake heaven and earth with a single move and had a long lifespan of 20,000 years. However, in the cruel cultivation world, conjoined body mighty figures were no different from them. They were equally fragile and would die with their essence spirits destroyed. 3 heaven-slaying sword chi killed a mighty figure. On the other side, the moment Su Zimo released the heaven-slaying sword chi, another conjoined body mighty figure had already arrived. Su Zimo did not even look at him. In his consciousness, the 54 green lotus seeds on the creation green lotus spewed out. Multicolored light spread and emitted a sharp sword chi as a green sword was rapidly formed. The green lotus sword. A green light flashed on Su Zimo's glabella and the green lotus sword tore through his consciousness, slashing towards the conjoined body mighty figure. This was a killing technique targeted at the essence spirit. Su Zimo did not test the other party and released his killing weapon right away. "Desolate Marshal, you're a lunatic!" When the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect sensed the terrifying aura on the green lotus sword, his expression changed starkly, and he could not help but curse as he conjured hand seals repeatedly, and conjured an essence spirit secret skill. The green lotus sword targeted the essence spirit. Only essence spirit Dharmic weapons or essence spirit secret skills could defend against it. Roar! Roar! When the essence spirit secret skill of the Dragon Tiger Sect mighty figure was released, the void echoed with the roars of dragons and tigers. A divine dragon and a spirit tiger condensed from spirit consciousness charged out and attacked the green lotus sword viciously. Dragon Tiger Kill! Among the many essence spirit secret skills of the upper sects, the legacy of Dragon Tiger Sect was definitely the top. In the blink of an eye, the green lotus sword and Dragon Tiger Kill collided. The fight between essence spirits was silent. However, the collision of their spirit consciousnesses caused fine cracks to appear in the void. The green lotus sword dissipated and returned to Su Zimo's consciousness as 54 green lotus seeds, entering the creation lotus platform to continue nourishing it. However, the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger Sect shuddered and the blood drained from his face. His eyes dimmed and he looked dispirited. Although he managed to defend against the essence spirit fight, his essence spirit was severely injured. Notwithstanding the fact that it would be difficult for his cultivation to advance in the future, his lifespan would also suffer immensely. Chi! A white sword chi burst forth from Su Zimo's fingertip. The heaven-slaying sword chi descended once more. The mighty figure of Dragon Tiger's sect had a horrified expression and instinctively wanted to condense Dharmic powers to defend. However, the moment his hands conjured a Dharmic art, his essence spirit felt a tearing pain and he nearly fainted. The Dharmic powers that he had just conjured dissipated instantly as well. His essence spirit could not even gather Dharmic powers. In a fight as such, a single mistake could lead to death on the spot, let alone someone like him. The sword chi descended and pierced his head without any resistance. The eyes of the mighty figure of Dragon Tiger's sect widened and his expression stiffened. He fell from midair and his life force dissipated rapidly. He was already dead. Another mighty figure was dead. Su Zimo was in complete control of the situation. First was the fight between essence spirits before releasing the heaven-slaying sword chi. He had already predicted every possible situation beforehand. It had been less than 10 breaths since the two conjoined body mighty figures appeared and died. To be fair, before entering the Dao inheritance ground, although the green lotus true body's body was indestructible and possessed treasures such as the creation lotus platform and even the inheritance of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects, it was still weaker in combat than the dragon true body. Furthermore, the green lotus true body had an obvious weakness. The power of its bloodline was relatively weaker. If it was closed in by a cultivator that possessed terrifying blood chi and specialized in melee combat similar to the dragon true body, it would most likely be doomed. That was still a weakness for the green lotus true body even after it came forth from the Dao inheritance ground. However, it was nothing to him. The many Dharmic arts and methods of the green lotus true body could make up for that weakness limitlessly. Even if he were to fight against his dragon true body now, it was unknown who would win. Although the blood chi of the dragon true body was terrifying, it would most likely be blocked by the many powerful Dharmic arts and secret skills of the green lotus true body and could not close in. Both true bodies had grown to a terrifying degree. Initially, Su Zimo's two true bodies were his greatest reliance and trump cards. But now, his martial Dao true body at the bottom of the Dragon Burial Valley, his prime body, was his greatest trump card. His prime body specialized in the martial Dao, and no one could guess how far it could progress in the future, not even him. On the battlefield, Elders Zhong and Ding tried their best to hold out against the heavenly fiend Dharma body and Rulai Dharmic body because they hoped that the other mighty figures of Dragon Tiger sect would be able to succeed. When they saw two mighty figures die in succession, the hearts of Elders Zhong and Ding sank as well. It was over. Dragon Tiger sect was finished. Elders Zhong and Ding finally realized that Dragon Tiger sect's foundation of more than 10,000 years was still unable to defend against this monster incarnate, and was about to be trampled to pieces. Bang! Bang! There were two loud bangs. The bodies of Elders Zhong and Ding were slammed heavily into Dragon Tiger Peak by the heavenly fiend Dharma body and Rulai Dharmic body. Both of them looked extremely wretched with their clothes torn. Their destiny Dharmic weapons, the gigantic bronze bell and dark gold tripod, were no longer glowing and cracks appeared on them. Two Dharmic weapons were shattered by Su Zimo's two heaven and earth Dharma characteristics. The figures of Elders Zhong and Ding were embedded into Dragon Tiger Peak motionlessly. The heavenly fiend Dharma body looked at the two of them with a cold gaze and waved its arm gently. The heavenly fiend scythe drew a cold beam of light in midair and pierced their throats. Poof! Blood gushed out. Two heads flew into the air before rolling back into the forest. Elders Zhong and Ding were dead. The entire Dragon Tiger sect was silent. 4 conjoined body mighty figures were dead. Many Dragon Tiger sect cultivators looked at the skinny figure in midair with endless fear in their eyes. Dao Lord Luohua's expression was dark and his eyelids twitched. Even his hands were trembling uncontrollably. At that moment, he finally felt regret. However, it was too late. He looked at 3 secluded cave abodes of Dragon Tiger Peak in despair with a hint of anticipation in the depths of his eyes. There were still 3 grand elders of the sect in those cave abodes. If the 3 of them were to join forces, would it be? The moment that thought crossed his mind, he heard Su Zimo saying indifferently, "The 3 of you have been watching for so long. Aren't you going to come out? Ugh! A deep sigh sounded, filled with fatigue and helplessness. Bang! Boom! Boom! The doors of the 3 cave abodes opened. 3 mighty figures of Dragon Tiger sect appeared. Greetings, Dao Lord Desolate Marshal! 3 mighty figures of Dragon Tiger sect appeared and bowed their heads, merely saying that single sentence. None of them had any intention of attacking. Dao Lord Luo Hua was in complete despair. Even mighty figures were bowing down. Chapter 1234. Chapter 1234, Luo Hua's Death. The cultivators of Dragon Tiger sect looked at everything in silence. When the 3 Grand Elders greeted Dao Lord Desolate Marshal, it meant that the battle was over. The 3 Grand Elders were all conjoined body mighty figures. But now, these mighty figures that stood at the peak of the cultivation world had retracted the pride in their hearts to bow down to Dao Lord Desolate Marshal. Su Zimo glanced sideways at the 3 conjoined body mighty figures and asked indifferently, "Why? You're not fighting anymore?" The 3 Grand Elders smiled bitterly with conflicted expressions. Dao Lord Luo Hua, who was standing on Dragon Tiger Peak, was indignant as a crazy thought flashed through his mind. With a ferocious expression, he shouted, "Elders, Desolate Marshal's heaven and earth Dharma characteristic can't hold on for much longer. If you guys join forces, you'll definitely be able to kill him." After a huge battle, the light of the heavenly fiend Dharma body and Rulai Dharmic body had indeed dimmed significantly, and were no longer corporeal. However, none of the 3 Grand Elders replied. It did seem like an opportunity. However, the 3 of them did not dare to take the gamble. If they lost, all their years of cultivation would vanish overnight. They could not afford to lose. If they showed weakness now, the 3 of them and the other cultivators of Dragon Tiger sect might still be able to survive. Dao Lord Desolate Marshal! The Grand Elder in the middle cupped his fists. "We've heard about your experiences and encounters. Those are indeed crimes of Dragon Tiger sect and we can't refute them. Since that's the case, Dragon Tiger sect shall disband today." Su Zimo waved his hand and said calmly. However, his words were enough to shock the entire cultivation world of the North region. Dragon Tiger sect was one of the 10 upper sects of the North region and had a legacy of more than 10,000 years. It stood strong despite countless calamities. To think that it would end today. The 3 Grand Elders sighed internally, realizing that there was no room for negotiation. The Grand Elder on the left said in a deep voice, "Dao Lord Desolate Marshal, Luo Hua's crime is unforgivable. However, this has nothing to do with the other cultivators of Dragon Tiger sect. From what I know, some elders in the sect even tried to dissuade Luo Hua, but he merely rejected them." After a brief pause, the Grand Elder grit his teeth and shouted, "Dao Lord Desolate Marshal, please show mercy and not implicate the other innocent cultivators of Dragon Tiger sect. Please." A conjoined body mighty figure was actually pleading to a Dharma characteristic Dao Lord. The other 2 Grand Elders cupped their fists at the same time. "Dao Lord Desolate Marshal, please show mercy." 3 conjoined body mighty figures were pleading for mercy at the same time. If news of this were to spread to the cultivation world, it would definitely cause an uproar. Su Zimo remained silent, and no one could read his thoughts. The world was silent. The air seemed to have frozen. At that moment, everyone from Dragon Tiger sect felt their hearts skip a beat. They did not know of Desolate Marshal's decision. If Dao Lord Desolate Marshal was prepared to start a massacre, although they had the advantage in numbers, they would definitely not be able to defend against him. Their fates would be decided by Desolate Marshal's next sentence. The 3 conjoined body mighty figures were tense as well. Under normal circumstances, the safest method in the cultivation world was to eliminate the root of the problem. After all, if Dragon Tiger sect were to disperse today and so many cultivators of it were to leave, it was hard to guarantee that someone would not obtain a great opportunity in the future and rise against the tides to take revenge. However, the person before them was Dao Lord Desolate Marshal. Although they were in seclusion most of the time, they had vaguely heard some legends about him. the matter of desolate martial establishing a Tao and imparting martial arts to all living beings shocked and charmed the three of them. Desolate Martial was not a bloodthirsty person. Perhaps, the cultivators of Dragon Tiger sect still had a chance of survival. Actually, there's no need for that. After a moment, Suzimo spoke slowly, his tone still calm. Suzimo pointed at the corpses of the fallen mighty figures. I'm only here today to kill Luo Hua. If those people didn't stand in my way, I wouldn't have killed them either. Swoosh! The cultivators heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. Since Tao Lord Desolate Martial said that, their lives were safe. Thank you for showing mercy, Tao Lord Desolate Martial. The three Grand Elders were delighted and expressed their thanks with cupped fists. Suzimo glanced at the three Grand Elders and declared proudly, as though he could read their minds. Since I dare to let you off, I'm not afraid of you taking revenge. The cultivators were shocked. He let them go because he was not afraid of them taking revenge. Such boldness! That single statement alone caused the three Grand Elders to lose all thoughts of resisting. Boom! With a single step, Suzimo descended on Dragon Tiger Peak. Tao Lord Luo Hua wanted to struggle and fight to the death, but Suzimo extended his hand and suppressed him with immense Dharmic powers, grabbing him over. He lifted Tao Lord Luo Hua by the throat and looked down at the cultivators of Dragon Tiger sect. Listen up, the sect master of Dragon Tiger sect, Tao Lord Luo Hua, was killed by me. Dragon Tiger sect was also disbanded because of me. If anyone wants revenge in the future, feel free to come look for me. After a brief pause, Suzimo changed the topic and said darkly, however, if you come looking for revenge, you'll end up the same way as him. The moment he said that, Suzimo's palm trembled and crushed Tao Lord Luo Hua's essence spirit instantly. The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect was dead. The cultivators of Dragon Tiger sect kept mum out of fear and did not even dare to breathe heavily. Every cultivator's eyes were filled with fear. That fear would be etched in the depths of their hearts forever. Perhaps one day, among these cultivators, some would advance to the Dharma characteristic realm while others would advance to the conjoined body realm, allowing them to dominate a place and suppress countless strong foes. However, they would still not dare to attack Suzimo. The green figure stood on Dragon Tiger Peak like an untouchable existence that they could only look up to. The rest of you can leave. Suzimo looked down at the group of cultivators and waved his hand gently. After a momentary silence, the group of cultivators seemed to have realized something and moved one after another, speeding out of the sect. Sword lights and auspicious clouds streaked through the air. None of the cultivators dared to linger. In less than half an hour, apart from Suzimo, Monkey and the others, the only ones left in the sect were the three Grand Elders of Dragon Tiger sect. The three Grand Elders looked at Dragon Tiger sect and every inch of ground beneath their feet and sighed deeply. They had cultivated in Dragon Tiger sect for thousands of years. Now that they were about to leave, they were still reluctant. Suzimo did not rush them either. A long time later, the three of them composed themselves and bowed towards Tao Lord Desolate Martial once more before turning to leave. All three of them were clear that from this day forth, the situation in the north region would change entirely. There were many cultivators lingering outside the mountain gate of Dragon Tiger sect, most of them from the upper sects and aristocratic families of the north region. All of them were awaiting the final outcome of this battle. Before long, the cultivators of Dragon Tiger sect left. Almost all the cultivators that rushed forward to ask received the same answer. Tao Lord Luo Hua was dead, Dragon Tiger sect was disbanded and removed from the north region. The cultivators were shocked and hurriedly tore the messenger cranes that they had prepared. The news spread rapidly and continuously in the cultivation world of the north region, forming a powerful storm that swept through the upper sects and aristocratic families. Chapter 1235 Greetings from the World. Chapter 1235 Greetings from the World. Dark Ghost Sect. Within the ghastly hall, a spirit messenger crane flew in. The sect master of Dark Ghost sect received the spirit crane and a piece of news entered his mind instantly. Right away, his expression froze and he remained silent for a long time. Sect Master, is it news from Dragon Tiger Sect? A few elders surrounded him and asked anxiously. The Sect Master of Dark Ghost Sect nodded. What did it say? When the elders saw the terrible expression on the Sect Master's face, they knew that something was amiss, but they could not help but ask. Luo Hua was executed and Dragon Tiger Sect is gone. The Sect Master of Dark Ghost Sect spoke a single sentence after a long silence. Gone? The elders were shocked and asked again. Why is it gone? Dragon Tiger Sect has a history of 10,000 years and there should be a few conjoined body mighty figures in the sect. 4 conjoined body mighty figures tried to stop Desolate Marshal, but they were all killed by him. The Sect Master of Dark Ghost Sect replied. Ah! The elders exclaimed. 4 conjoined body mighty figures were dead. Furthermore, they died in the hands of a Dharma characteristic Dao Lord. Blood Mist Sect. What did you say? An elder exclaimed in shock. Desolate Marshal has actually conjured 2 heaven and earth Dharma characteristics, and they're both 85 feet tall? The Sect Master of Blood Mist Sect nodded with a dark expression. 85 feet, 2 of them. The elder murmured softly. Desolate Marshal has just entered the Dharma characteristic realm. Once he cultivates to the perfected Dharma characteristic realm, who can suppress him? There already aren't many people who can suppress him now. The Sect Master of Blood Mist Sect laughed bitterly. 4 conjoined body mighty figures of Dragon Tiger Sect wanted to stop him, but they were all killed by him. Even the 3 remaining conjoined body mighty figures bowed down to him. Yuan Clan. The Yuan clan's master had a dark expression as he sat in the main hall of the clan. Many cultivators were gathered in the main hall, forming a dark atmosphere. I long expected that Desolate Marshal would become extremely terrifying after entering the Dharma characteristic realm. The Yuan clan's master grit his teeth. However, to think that this lad would have grown to such an extent. Ugh! Some elders in the clan shook their heads and sighed. Including the remaining 9 upper sects of the North region, our 4 gentry clans and even the 2 ancient aristocratic families, there's probably no one who can suppress Desolate Marshal. Unless Glass Palace makes a move. Don't forget, Desolate Marshal has a Mahayana patriarch backing him. I don't think Glass Palace will attack Desolate Marshal at this time either. Desolate Marshal is just a young lad. Could it be that after today, he will reign supreme in the North region? That will probably be the case. The clan discussed. The Yuan clan's master waved his hand. Elders, follow me. We'll head to Dragon Tiger Sect to meet Desolate Marshal. Family Master! The cultivators in the clan were shocked and exclaimed. This decision meant that the Yuan clan had bowed down to Dao Lord Desolate Marshal. Back when Desolate Marshal was ambushed by 6 conjoined body mighty figures in the capital of Yen country, one of the conjoined body mighty figures was from the Yuan clan. Desolate Marshal had yet to express anything regarding this matter. The situation was pressing and the Yuan clan could only bow down first. If Desolate Marshal were to come knocking, it was hard to guarantee that the Yuan clan would not be destroyed and wiped out of the North region like Dragon Tiger Sect. The Yuan clan's master had an indignant expression but still said, Desolate Marshal has entered the Dharma characteristic realm and destroyed Dragon Tiger Sect. The situation is already set in stone, and we can only bow our heads. The cultivators in the clan were silent. Stellar Luna Sect. Our sect master is wise. Many elders praised in unison with shocked expressions. Previously, the sect master of Stellar Luna Sect determined that Dragon Tiger Sect would be removed from the North region after this battle. At that time, many elders refuted the statement. To think that the outcome of Dragon Tiger Sect would be as the sect master of Stellar Luna Sect expected. The sect master of Stellar Luna Sect heaved a sigh of relief. I'm sure all the elders want to witness the grandeur of Dao Lord Desolate Marshal. Why don't you follow me? Are you going to pay a personal visit to Dao Lord Desolate Marshal, sect master? An elder frowned slightly. You're the master of a sect after all. Isn't that a little inappropriate? That should be the case. The sect master of Stellar Luna Sect shook his head. Desolate Marshal has entered the Dharma characteristic realm and reigns supreme across the entire North region. His status is even above mine. The only way I can express sincerity is through a personal visit. Pausing for a moment, he smiled gently. The upper sects such as Dark Ghost Sect are feeling even more uneasy now. I'm guessing that their sect masters will head to Dragon Tiger Sect as well. All the upper sects, gentry clans and aristocratic families of the North region made a move in unison. Sect and clan masters came forth at the same time to head to Dragon Tiger Sect. Although Dragon Tiger Sect was now a thing of the past after the battle, its mountain gate was still around. Before long, Tao Yao, Nian Qi and the others had already cleaned up the vicinity of the sect and some corpses. Monkey and the others had long been scurrying around the entrance of Dragon Tiger Sect curiously, the elixir refinement chamber, Dharmic weapon chamber, and everyone else. They stuffed everything good they saw into their storage bags. I'm always getting the best gains when I'm with first. The spirit tiger smiled sheepishly and grabbed a bottle of elixirs, pouring everything into his mouth. He chewed casually before swallowing. Burping, he spat out a stream of spirit chi. Restrain yourself! Qing Qing could not help but kick the spirit tiger, as she scolded jokingly. Don't overload. It's fine. The spirit tiger grinned. Don't you see Brother Monkey? He found a pool of wine out of nowhere, and he's now lying dead drunk inside. In the hall, Su Zimo had just entered the Dharma characteristic realm and experienced another battle. Rubbing his glabella gently, he closed his eyes and stabilized his cultivation realm to comprehend the power of the Dharma characteristic realm. Young master, what are we still doing here? Tao Yao was curious, and could not help but ask. Su Zimo did not open his eyes when he heard Tao Yao's question. We're waiting for people. Oh. Tao Yao blinked and nodded, not fully understanding. Young master, cultivate and rest first. I won't disturb you. He was sensible and did not continue asking, merely bowing to bid farewell. Outside the hall, Nian Qi was standing guard. Sister Nian Qi, young master is tired. Let's not disturb him first, Tao Yao said seriously. Nian Qi smiled and nodded. Tao Yao stumbled to the entrance of the sect and stood guard there. His young master was resting and must not be disturbed. He had to stop any fiend demon cultivators from entering. That was what Tao Yao thought. The next morning, Tao Yao was resting when he heard the sound of flying swords tearing through the air. Far away, clouds rumbled and spirit vessels tore through the air one after another. Many auspicious clouds sped forward with many cultivators standing on them in a black patch. They had a terrifying aura and dust billowed as they charged towards Dragon Tiger Sect. Tao Yao's expression froze and he perked up. These people are hostile. I can't let them barge into Dragon Tiger Sect and disturb young master, he thought to himself. Chapter 1236 Dao Child. Chapter 1236 Dao Child. The first to arrive at Dragon Tiger Sect were the cultivators of the Dark Ghost Sect. The moment they arrived, everyone from Dark Ghost Sect caught sight of a boy standing at the entrance of Dragon Tiger Sect. With a stern expression, he blocked their path forward. You're not allowed to barge in here. Please make a detour, Tao Yao declared. How did this child appear out of nowhere in this forest? Many cultivators of Dark Ghost Sect had never seen Tao Yao before. Look carefully, this is not a child, but a spirit that has turned into a fiend demon. The person who spoke was Dao Lord Black Leather, who had headed to Pingyang Town previously. He whispered to the sect master of Dark Ghost Sect. Sect master, this boy protected Dao Lord Desolate Marshal outside Pingyang Town and did a great deed. The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect nodded and smiled at Tao Yao. I'm the sect master of Dark Ghost Sect and I'm here to visit Dao Lord Desolate Marshal. Could I trouble you to inform him? Not now. He's still resting. Tao Yao shook his head and rejected without thinking. The expression of the sect master of Dark Ghost Sect darkened. No matter what, as a sect master with a noble status, it did not make sense for him to be rejected by a boy at the entrance when he was here to visit personally. However, he was extremely scheming and did not flare up. The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect laughed still and asked, "May I know how long your young master will be resting?" "I don't know." Tao Yao shook his head. The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect frowned. A Dharma characteristic Dao Lord at the side could not stand it, and stood out, harumphing coldly. "Kid, Dark Ghost Sect is an upper sect of the North region. Who do you think you are? How dare you make the decision on your own? If we ask you to report it, head over quickly. Don't waste time." "So what if you're an upper sect?" Tao Yao pouted. "Dragon Tiger Sect was an upper sect as well, but they were still destroyed by our young master." "You!" The Dharma characteristic Dao Lord was speechless for a moment, and was enraged. He said coldly, "What a glib tongue you have! I'll punish you on behalf of your young master today. You want to fight?" Tao Yao was instantly on guard as he glared at everyone from Dark Ghost Sect. "Back down!" Right then, the sect master of Dark Ghost Sect hollered with a dark expression. "Sect master, he's just a child. Scram! Don't come out and embarrass yourself." The Dharma characteristic Dao Lord wanted to argue but was lambasted by the sect master of Dark Ghost Sect. With an embarrassed expression, he retreated. The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect took a deep breath and turned around. The gloominess on his face dissipated significantly as he revealed a smile. "It's fine. Since Dao Lord Desolate Marshal is resting, we'll wait outside here. Once your young master is awake, can I trouble you to inform him?" The Dark Ghost Sect cultivators were stunned. Their sect master had a dark temperament, and had never smiled before, let alone speak with such a gentle tone. "Of course." Tao Yao nodded and did not reject the request. The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect chuckled dryly and waved his hand, retreating with the group of cultivators to rest outside Dragon Tiger Sect. "Sect master, if Desolate Marshal were to rest for half a month, would we have to wait here for so long as well? Isn't Desolate Marshal way too cocky?" "Sect master, we can give Desolate Marshal some face, but there's no need for us to show weakness to a mere child." Many cultivators of Dark Ghost Sect were indignant. The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect shook his head gently. "I heard that this child is extremely close to Desolate Marshal and must not be provoked. Once the Dao is obtained, even fowls and dogs can ascend to the heavens, let alone the Dao Child of Desolate Marshal." Before long, cultivators of Blood Mist Sect arrived at the entrance of Dragon Tiger Sect but were similarly rejected by Tao Yao. Similar to the sect master of Dark Ghost Sect, the sect master of Blood Mist Sect did not barge in and retreated after chatting for a while. Dragon Tiger Sect was destroyed the moment they barged into Pingyang Town. None of them dared to attempt the same. Before long, cultivators of Seven Kills Sect and Yuan Clan arrived at Dragon Tiger Sect as well. Similar to Dark Ghost Sect and Blood Mist Sect, the sect masters of Seven Kills Sect and Yuan Clan were not angered after Tao Yao rejected them. Instead, they chose to wait outside the sect. Before noon, half of the 10 upper sects of the North region had arrived. 3 of the 4 gentry clans had arrived as well. The masters of both aristocratic families had arrived. These upper sect masters and aristocratic family masters were existences that would cause a stir in the North region with a single stomp of their feet. Yet, they were waiting obediently outside the Dragon Tiger Sect right now. Although the upper sect masters and aristocratic family masters were given the cold shoulder and exchanged glances, all of them had a tacit understanding and none of them mocked the other. Almost all of them had offended Su Zimo in the past. Now that Su Zimo had entered the Dharma characteristic realm and destroyed Dragon Tiger Sect, the situation was set in stone. In order to resolve their past grudges, they could only pay a personal visit. Noon had just passed. Stellar Luna Sect, Murong aristocratic family and other sects and factions had arrived as well. All the upper sects and aristocratic families of the cultivation world of the North region were gathered outside Dragon Tiger Sect. Even in the ancient era, there shouldn't be any Dharma characteristic Dao Lord that had the entire world paying respects the moment they entered the Dharma characteristic realm, right? The sect master of Stellar Luna Sect lamented. "That's right," an elder at the side said. However, this is quite a bit of pressure for Desolate Marshal as well. After all, he's facing almost the entire cultivation world of the North region. That's right. No matter how strong Dao Lord Desolate Marshal is and how he can flatten Dragon Tiger sect, there's no way he can go against all the 9 upper sects, 4 gentry clans and 2 aristocratic families. This gathering of warriors from all over is a test for Dao Lord Desolate Marshal as well. Let's see how he reacts. Many elders of Stellar Luna sect discussed softly. Right then, a calm voice sounded from Dragon Tiger sect. When it entered the ears of the cultivators outside the sect, it was neither loud nor soft but extremely clear. Everyone, it's been a long wait. Come on in. The initial clamor outside the sect quietened down. Tao Yao was invigorated and declared, "Young master is awake. Follow me." The group of them heaved a sigh of relief. Under Tao Yao's lead, the group of cultivators entered Dragon Tiger sect and headed straight for the palace on Dragon Tiger Peak. The palace of Dragon Tiger sect was extremely huge and could accommodate tens of thousands of people with ease. The moment the cultivators entered, they looked up instinctively and shuddered with shock in their eyes. At that moment, a green-robed cultivator sat in the main hall. His black hair fell to his shoulders and his eyes were deep, emanating a powerful aura as though he was one with the world. Tao Yao had already returned to his spot, and was standing side by side with Nianqi behind the green-robed cultivator. Both of them looked young and were like a pair of Dao children, standing guard beside the green-robed cultivator. The cultivators were stunned when they saw that. Legend has it that behind some immortals in the immortal world, there were male and female Dao children that cultivated the Dao, known as the Golden Couple. This scene was extremely similar to the legends of the immortal world. What sort of characters were the leaders of the 9 upper sects, 4 gentry clans and 2 aristocratic families? Once gathered, they would naturally form a powerful aura. But now that they entered the hall, they were suppressed by the aura of the green-robed cultivator, and lowered their heads instinctively, not daring to meet his gaze. Chapter 1237 Killing in Public. Chapter 1237 Killing in Public. That's Dao Lord Desolate Marshal! Many cultivators thought to themselves. Although they had never seen Su Zimo before, they felt that only such a powerful aura was worthy of Desolate Marshal's Dao title. The sect master of Stellar Luna sect and everyone else who had seen Su Zimo before lamented internally. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed that Dao Lord Desolate Marshal had transformed to such a state after merely 10 years. This was not merely an increase in his cultivation realm. It was an indescribable feeling. More than 10 years ago, Su Zimo was lauded as the strongest monster incarnate in history and killed many titular disciples, gaining fame in Tianhuang mainland. He was even reborn after a single attack from a half-martial ancestor. However, at that time, Stellar Luna sect and the others still looked at Su Zimo as though they were looking at a junior. But now, there was a sense of vicissitude and pressure emanating from Su Zimo. In front of him, everyone from Stellar Luna sect felt a sense of pressure. Congratulations on entering the Dharma characteristic realm, fellow Taoist Desolate Marshal. After a long silence, the Murong family's master was the first to step forward and say gently, "Of course, I would like to congratulate you on establishing the martial Dao and bringing blessings to the masses as well. Back when I parted ways with you, I told you that I would personally pay a visit to congratulate you if you can establish your martial Dao. Today, I'm fulfilling my promise." The Murong family's master was a beautiful middle-aged lady. She looked to be in her 30s and had a voluptuous figure. Her words and actions were elegant and dignified while her voice was gentle and beautiful, sounding like a spring breeze. "You're too kind, fellow Taoist Murong." Su Zimo smiled gently and nodded. "Take a seat." The hall was extremely empty. At that moment, Tao Yao walked down the steps upon Su Zimo's orders and took out a chair from his storage bag, placing it beside the Murong family's master. "Please!" Tao Yao made an inviting gesture. "Thank you, Dao Child." The Murong family's master smiled and sat down. The other cultivators of the Murong family were naturally not qualified to sit in the main hall and stood behind the Murong family's master. Su Zimo's gaze shifted to the sect master of Stellar Luna sect. The sect master of Stellar Luna sect laughed and stood out, bowing slightly. Greetings, fellow Taoist Desolate Martial. Congratulations on entering the Dharma characteristic realm and imparting martial arts to all living beings. Well said. Su Zimo nodded. Take a seat. Tao Yao took out another chair from his storage bag and placed it beside the sect master of Stellar Luna sect. The sect master of Stellar Luna sect heaved a sigh of relief. More than 10 years ago, after the battle at the Palace of Yan Country, he told Su Zimo that he would forget about the feud between Su Zimo and Stellar Luna sect. In the battle outside Pingyang town thereafter, no cultivators from Stellar Luna sect took part in it either. From the looks of it, those two decisions were made correctly. The Valley Master of Blaze Columbus Valley cupped his fists and laughed. Fellow Taoist Desolate Martial, to think that something like imparting martial arts to all living beings would be done by you. It's nothing much for you to enter the Dharma characteristic realm, but it's definitely worth bragging about creating the martial Tao. No problem. Su Zimo nodded with a smile. Valley Master, why don't you stay here today? There's a wine pool in Dragon Tiger sect, and the wine inside is fragrant. You can drink to your heart's content. Good. The Valley Master of Blaze Columbus Valley's eyes lit up as he said hurriedly. Since fellow Taoist Desolate Martial has said that, I won't decline. Although I've drunk the good wine of Dragon Tiger sect before, I've never had my fill of it. I can finally drink to my heart's content today. Take a seat. Su Zimo gestured with a nod. Tao Yao arrived beside the Valley Master of Blaze Columbus Valley and moved out a seat. Thank you. The Valley Master of Blaze Columbus Valley laughed and sat down comfortably. Initially, the atmosphere in the hall was a little tense. But now, the atmosphere was much livelier after that exchange. Many cultivators were relieved as well. Cultivators from other sects such as Dark Ghost Sect, Seven Kills Sect, and Blood Mist Sect thought to themselves, legend has it that Desolate Martial is decisive in killing like a fiend. Now that I think about it, he seems rather easygoing. Master, you're worrying too much. Tao Lord Black Leather sent a voice transmission as well. Seems like Desolate Martial is smart, and has no intention of offending us. The sect master of Dark Ghost Sect said nothing. Actually, the current situation did not prove anything. Stellar Luna Sect, Blaze Columbus Valley, and the Murong family did not have any deep feuds with Su Zimo to begin with. However, it was different for them. More than 10 years ago, they sent a conjoined body mighty figure of their sect to kill Desolate Martial. A few days ago outside Pingyang town, their cultivators even arrived nearby to covet Desolate Martial's belongings. That was a huge taboo. As the sect master of Dark Ghost Sect hesitated, Seven Kills Sect stood out. Similar to the sect master of Stellar Luna Sect, the sect master of Seven Kills Sect revealed a smile and cupped his fists. Congratulations on entering the Dharma characteristic realm, fellow Taoist Desolate Martial. You have established the martial Tao, and it's a blessing for all living beings. This is an eternal achievement. Under normal circumstances, Su Zimo should accord this person a seat right now. However, at that moment, Su Zimo was expressionless and merely looked at the sect master of Seven Kills Sect in silence, leaving him there. The smile on the face of the sect master of Seven Kills Sect froze. The group of cultivators had just relaxed when they suddenly felt a sense of trepidation, as though a calamity was about to descend upon them. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly turned tense. Back then, one of the 6 conjoined body mighty figures that encircled Su Zimo was from Seven Kills Sect. There were also cultivators of Seven Kills Sect outside Pingyang town. Tao Lord Desolate Martial, I. The sect master of Seven Kills Sect looked awkward. Just as he was about to continue, Su Zimo retracted his gaze and turned to look at the sect master of Heaven Motion Sect who was not far away. It's been more than 10 years. How have you been, sect master? Su Zimo smiled gently. More than 10 years ago, the sect master of Heaven Motion Sect promised him that he would write off his feud with Su Zimo from then on, and would not cause trouble for the latter. Later on, Heaven Motion sect fulfilled their promise and did not send any cultivators to Pingyang town. The sect master of Heaven Motion sect froze for a moment, and even felt flattered, saying hurriedly, "You're welcome, fellow Taoist. Take a seat." Su Zimo nodded. Tao Yao moved a chair and placed it beside the sect master of Heaven Motion sect. The sect master of Seven Kills sect stood at the side and could neither advance nor retreat. His face flushed red and purple as he felt a burning sensation. A clear distinction between gratitude and hatred. Two words flashed through the sect master of Stellar Luna sect's mind. Su Zimo's attitude towards them was completely different from his attitude towards the sect master of Seven Kills sect. Although they were all here with the intention of befriending Su Zimo, it was most likely going to be fruitless for Dark Ghost sect, Seven Kills sect, and the other sects. "Desolate Marshal, what's the meaning of this?" An elder of Seven Kills sect could not hold it in any longer and stood out. Killing intent surged in his eyes as he said coldly, "Our sect master is here personally to extend his congratulations. How can we allow a young kid like you to humiliate us?" Su Zimo's expression turned cold, and his gaze intensified. "You want to kill me?" Su Zimo's spirit perception was the most sensitive to killing intent. Seven Kills sect had once sent a conjoined body mighty figure to kill him. That debt had yet to be settled, and this Seven Kills sect elder still dared to harbor killing intent towards him. "You must have a death wish." Exhaling, Su Zimo raised two fingers and conjured a sword art, slashing towards the Seven Kills sect elder. Chi! A bedazzling sword beam burst forth, creating a vast expanse of white. The Seven Kills sect elder was alarmed. He had not expected that Su Zimo would be so domineering as to kill in public in front of so many sects and factions. In a moment of distraction, the heaven-slaying sword Chi crossed the void and entered his head. Poof! The Seven Kills sect elder was sliced into two and died on the spot. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.